hello again, everyone. I am Gary Gatso. Welcome to our coverage of the Dark Horse 2,000-mile ride series. This is a Grand Slam tour of the IndyCar Triple Crown tracks on iRacing. We're here tonight at Legacy Pocono for round 3 of 4 of the series for the WATCHMAN 500, presented by the Joy of Driving. Currently watching the Watchman right now, Mark Cohn, as he's out there turning times for qualifying. We're doing a 2-lap qualifying average to determine today's grid. The start of the 500 miles. 100% fuel today, 100 unlimited tires, so no tire bill. Tire bill free. 1 fast repair. The Lucky Dog is enabled. Pit road speed limit is 60 miles per hour. Of course, this is Pocono, a 2.5-mile triangular-shaped super speedway oval. 200 laps, 500 miles. Pit road speed limit will be 60 miles per hour. And then the winner receives a watch from the Watchman's personal collection. We will be joined momentarily by the Catalyst Andrew Wood. Of course, this week was update week. And there you see Cohn clocking in at a 41.4 for his 2-lap average. And also on the racetrack, Rafi Eckerts. I think Rafi Eckerts out there. Rafi already a winner in the DW12 this weekend over on the VOR side of things, Velocity Online Racing League, and their Iconic Series on Friday. He won the Indy 200. Back-to-back wins for him in the Indy 200. He's also the defending series champion now in the Iconic Series. So all things showing up, all things Rafi. Actually, that's Edson. That's his... well, I made a mistake. That's Edson. That is his teammate. Rafi is the Series 1 or Season 1 champion of the VOR Iconic Series. So everything's coming up all leader energy right now over in the VOR Iconic Series. And let's take a look at Edson when he's out there. Edson, here he is, back-to-back winner of the Indy 200 in the VOR Series and current defending series champion. I'm going to ask about what leaner energy is. Is that an energy drink there in Brazil? Because then I got to ask if they're going to send me any samples or something I can try. Been working on this 2-lap average widget here in ATVO, and I think it's somewhat working, but somewhat not working now. And a 41.4 is his 2-lap average. We're seeing the average, but we're not seeing the 2 laps, so that's interesting. Okay. Currently out on the racetrack, Mark Murphy, the IAR car. I'm going to run to go to his roll bar view here. Check this out. Check out the chrome on the nose there. See everything reflecting from it. 220, 220, 220. No, anything higher than 220 going to the 1. Down to the bottom lane, coming out to the wall. Down the Long Pond Straight, looking at turn 2, which is modeled after Indianapolis, or at least tried to be modeled after Indianapolis. I can't say that I really think about Indianapolis when I go through that turn, but engineering's engineering, I guess. And then here is turn 3, which is Milwaukee. Of course, the NTT IndyCar Series just there a couple weeks ago for a doubleheader. Pretty successful doubleheader. And then turn 1 is modeled after Trenton, which I don't think we've seen, at least in Papyrus sim form. Don't quote me on that one. There might have been in NASCAR Legends, maybe Trenton was there, but you could run Trenton in other sims, but not this one. Currently out on the racetrack now, Matty Wagner stretching his IndyCar legs for a change. Here's your weather information. Very humid, very heavy air here at Poconos. 89%, 89 degrees. Track temperature 67 degrees ambient. That wind is not right. The wind, I believe, is more 10 or 11 from the southeast. .224 left to play. And Craig Forsyth is in here. Here he is. Wasn't sure if he was going to check in here, but he is checked in. He is currently underway qualifying. And one final driver still out there, Jeff Hysong. And it looks like Hysong's going to practice a green flag pit stop. That's not a bad idea.
I thought the racing was pretty exciting. Some controversy, we don't get it all that, but
And I believe everyone has who wanted to have turned in laps here. And we should be going racing here momentarily as we are lining up now. Just a real quick reminder before we go racing, if you enjoy P1's coverage of the Dark Horse 2,000 Mile Ride Series and you respect the stream, please do us a solid and make sure you're supporting us by subscribing while you're at it. Don't forget to smash like and click the bell so you'll miss out on future P1 iRacing broadcasts. And man, do we have a ton of them this week. We have double headers today. We've already had one race today. That was the EGP Hypercar Championship from Watkins Glen. And then tomorrow we're going to have our NASCAR doubleheader now, NTRL Xfinity cars. They will be on at 8:10 p.m. And then followed by our regular coverage of the ISRA Truck Series. At 9:45. So Mark Murphy's going to be on the pole. We're getting ready to roll out here. Let's get in a starting lineup. From Legacy Pocono. We want to show that. There we go. There we go. Starting lineup. Murphy on the pole. Wagner right next to him, both with a 217.7 average. That's the fact of just about everybody in the top 5 has a 217 average. Santos, Eckert, teammates on row 2. Cohn and Stouffer, row 3. Herrick and Forsyth, teammates on row 4. Teed and Peterson, teammates on row 5. Lover and Hysong back in row 6. And Pahutsky and Jomo, Joseph Morales, back on row 7. Joseph decided not to take any time. You can see the front just fine from row 7, so he will keep up with the main pack from there. And that is your 14-car field here for 500 miles at Pocono. My feeling is if we can get through the first couple of laps without any contact with anybody, certainly get through turns 1 and 2, we start stretching out, we might be looking at an entire 500-mile green flag race. We shall see.
Green flag, green flag.
Green flag in the air. Here we go. 500 miles from Legacy Pocono in the Dark Horse Series. Everybody cleanly through 1. Still side by side to the mid-pack. Coming up to 2, where everyone can try to go single file. Here comes Wagner. Take a look to the inside to Murph. Murph gets everybody through. Everyone clear through 2. Down the short straight. Shoots down into 3. Everybody cleanly through 3. Looking good so far. Field is now stretched out to the way we thought it would be. 1 lap in the books. Mark Murphy is your leader. Forsyth already up 3 spots from his starting spot. Here's Wagner to the lead, going into 2. Stouffer back in 7th, taking evasive action around the Watchman cone. Now, thought he was going to try to stick it underneath his teammate there to go into 2, but thinks wisely of it. Just moves up 1 spot. Stouffer, the Pocono Whisperer, expecting big things from him today. And also Craig Forsyth, who's already had 1 500-mile race in his belt already this weekend. In the VOR Series, Indy 500 was this weekend. Stouffer underneath Santos. He should be clear, but Santos going to take a run on him on a high side in 3. Not a lot of places to go in 3, especially with Wagner so far up high. Dirty air all over the place in turn 3. Now everyone's starting to draft off Wagner as Wagner's starting to lose track of Murphy. Murphy now 6/10 out in front. Here comes Forsyth to the inside. 1 shot. Yes, 1 shot, 2 shots. Over Santos and Eckert move Forsyth now to 3rd or 4th. Now, and then here comes Stouffer looking around Wagner into 2. Move Wagner or Stouffer. Move Stouffer up to 2nd.
What's up, Gary? I've made it to the situation here. So here we are. We're here at Pocono, the old Legacy Pocono.
That's right, where all the bumps are.
What have we missed so far?
No, it's been a very smooth start to the show here. Everyone got through lap 1, turn 1, nice. Lap 1, turn 2, nice. And now we're kind of stringing out as we normally kind of expect here at Pocono. But Stouffer up 4 spots now. Now he's threatening Murphy, who kind of broke out to about a 0.6 of a second lead over second place. But since I said that, Stouffer has been the man on the move and has kind of caught him now in turn 3.
Yeah, so this Legacy Pocono situation definitely has these guys really kind of going for it. It seems very single file right now, and it's probably a fuel safe situation. Just immediately get on the button. Everyone's very close here. The cars that are going deep down into turn 1 may not have the run there going down the back straightaway, but I think that as this race goes on and these tires wear, I think that they're going to have a better opportunity to draft up to their guys up ahead, make up a few spots here.
Wagner a little twitchy down at the bottom in 2 with Stouffer side by side. And as Stouffer and Wagner run side by side, that's allowing Murphy to kind of escape now. He's got that 0.6 of a second lead again.
I was actually watching Murphy there go down into turn 3, and it seemed like he was kind of breaking the draft a little bit. He was kind of coming off the wall and doing a little bit of a maneuver to make sure he gets a little bit of a breakaway, and it seems to be working for him as he seems to be quite a bit ahead there going through turn 1.
That's 0.7 of a second now for Murph, and that is right on the verge of breaking the draft in these cars.
Yeah, Wagner seems to be kind of holding these guys up a little bit here going into turn 3. It seems that Murph has managed to find a way to get ahead, break the draft a little bit, and maybe actually pull away from these guys a little bit. But I think that eventually second, third place here, Matt Wagner, Chris Stouffer will probably notice that, and they want to make sure that they don't lose the lead. So they'll kind of settle out single file, and I think Matt Wagner is going to start to try to come back.
Well, he got about 0.8 now, and now they're starting to reel him back in.
And it's best to kind of stay single file here and not really battle each other, because once you start to battle, you'll start to lose that lead pack there. Well, leader, as it were, in that case. But that goes for anyone in the field. Once you start to go side by side, you start to lose a little bit of draft here. Here comes Chris Stouffer. He looks like he's going to hold position, actually. Give Matt Wagner that little bit of bubble to give him a little bit extra speed in turn 1.
They're about, Joseph Morales, Casey Pahutsky back in the back there. Some evasive actions taking place. Jomo tries to defend. There's about 3 distinct packs right now. We have the leader, who is by himself now by 0.8. Then we have Wagner and Stouffer, who are kind of in a 2-car pack on their own. And then right behind them is Greg Forsyth in 4th. And it's Forsyth leading about a group of 9 cars, about maybe 6 cars. Forsyth, Peterson, Cohn, Eckert, and Santos really is involved in that group. And then the last group is kind of led by Highsong and Lovern, who are right now single file trying to catch back up to the second group.
Yeah, it seemed like Lovern actually got a little bit high in turn 2 last time around, so he lost a little bit of time to that second pack that you were mentioning before. And I think Lovern's just trying to kind of resort himself behind Jeff Highsong.
And the lead to Murph is down now to 0.3, now 0.2 by Stouffer, who's reeled him in by a half second already.
And again, it's easy to mention that these cars don't have the tools necessary to change the weight jacker, change the front bar, the rear bar, in order to try and make these cars a little bit more in conjunction with what these guys want to race with. So it's all about the draft and making sure you keep it in the draft. You see the leaner energy cars of Rafi Eckert and Edson Santos, P7 and P8. They're really trying to make sure they stay with that pack up ahead. And it seems to be not working out for them so much, but Rafi Eckert's going on the inside of Edson Santos going into turn 1. He makes up a lot of distance there on Craig Forsyth up in P6, I believe. Or is that Mark Cohn? Actually,
Yeah, Mark Cohn.
Cohn.
Yep. Today's generous benefactor of today's race.
So it seems like we have kind of broken off into pairs. If you would see that right, Gary.
Yep.
It looks like we have like P1, 2, and 3 together, and then P4 and 5 together, and P6 and 7 all kind of working together here. And I think that it's just a matter of if you get to work with your guy to swap draft kind of thing. So now we're in a swap draft situation. The leaner energy cars are working together to try and catch the pack up ahead, but the guys up ahead are also kind of doing their own swap draft situation, Mark Cohn and Eric Peterson. And the guys up ahead have definitely started to kind of pull away a little bit. We see that Christopher is taking the lead here from Mark Murphy going into turn 1. I think that it's just a matter of figuring out what the draft range is for these cars, because the fact that you can't work with any sort of tools in this car,
Yeah.
it definitely seems like you want to work with guys just for a swap draft situation. So Mark Murphy lost the lead. He had a little bit of a lead going for the last few laps, but then he seemed to kind of lose it a little bit. So it looks like Matt Wagner wants to kind of take that spot away from Mark Murphy here. He's going to stay behind going into turn 1, but I think that Stouffer seems to have found something here to get himself a little bit ahead. Matt Wagner takes second place there, so it looks like Matt Wagner wants to try and jump Mark Murphy here and make his way back towards the front again.
Here we go. All right, Stouffer breaking out to now 9/10 of a second lead. And that's huge, really, in these cars, the way that they really need to be in close proximity in order to kind of keep up with one another. He's managed to break that out all on his own.
Got to see what the strategy is for later on in this race, for what the pit strategy is. If you're trying to run a full fuel kind of race, I think it's a good strategy to get going here. And if you're in the lead, you want to make sure you have the lead, and you want to make sure that you do that pit stop to make sure you're staying in the lead.
$18 of 200, about halfway through their first fuel run before we start seeing green flag pit stops. Unlike Indianapolis, not exactly 30-30-30 here at Pocono. It's a little bit more because the cars aren't quite as fast here, and you actually kind of breathe the throttle a little bit in turns. Well, I don't know a lot of people. Maybe some people do in 1, but certainly you breathe it a little bit in 3.
It's all about the optimal line. So if you have the optimal line, you can run a little bit more open throttle going into turn 1 for sure. But I think that Wagner and Murphy here are trying to close in on leader Stouffer up ahead.
And there we got the wind now. We got a variable wind as is constantly changing now. It's from the east at 9 miles per hour.
Wreck on turn 2 there.
Yes, it
Looks
is.
like Eric Peterson.
It is Peterson.
Yeah, it looked like he was trying to let someone go on the inside, but unfortunately there was a little bit of contact there, and it looks like we stay green, actually.
And Rafi Eckert might have been involved in that one, too. So we could go back and take a look at that.
Yeah, we say green for this whole thing, and it looks like Matt Wagner and Mark Murphy are still trying to swap drafts to get up to Chris Stouffer up in the lead there. But this is definitely something that Stouffer has in the bag. He managed to find a way right by the leaders,
Ooh.
and this is a kind of a track that Stouffer likes, where he wants to kind of pull ahead a little bit, and he's gotten out of the draft range now. These second and third place guys.
Here's that a replay again. So we're watching Peterson way up high, and just a little contact with Rafi, and then the two cars around. Now they were still able to keep rolling, so hopefully they can. And it was coming into turn 3, where the entrance into pit road is, so they could probably execute that fast repair. But a very early execution of the fast repair here at lap 21.
Looks like Rafi Eckert has called it a day. He's decided the car is too damaged, and that's the end of the Rafi Eckert saga here. But Eric Peterson has come back out on track after using that fast repair. I'm watching the Mark Murphy and Matt Wagner swap drive situation here, and they're not letting Stouffer get away too much. It looked like Stouffer was trying to actually pull like a 2 to 2.5 second gap, but these guys are actually doing an efficient job swap drafting to try and pick up that track position. Looks like Murphy got a little bit of an advantage, and now it's leading Matt Wagner exposed to Craig Forsyth, who is making a move for P3 here. That's not going to help the situation to get the guys back up to Chris Stouffer again,
No.
obviously.
Ooh,
because
Wagner.
these guys, that was very close.
Very close.
I think Matt needs to get back up to Mark Murphy again, because the more Mark Murphy is kind of sitting there in the middle of the what he 1, 2, 3 situation there, he's not going to be able to make any sort of inroads to Stouffer. So he needs Matt Wagner to kind of leapfrog him to pick up those precious tenths that you see.
Yeah.
So we're sitting on lap 24 of this race right now, and I think we're going to start thinking about these pit stop situations very soon. Now, if I were Chris Stouffer, I'm out there burning all the fuel I possibly can. So I want to make sure I have the best pit stop scenario where I can get maybe a few tenths advantage on the cars behind and make sure I keep this lead. But if I'm Mark Murphy, I want to try and maybe undercut the pit stop situation a little bit to try and pick up a few extra tenths on the leader.
Murph had a long weekend as well. He was also in the VOR Indy 500. So he has 500 miles under his belt once already this weekend. Same thing for Edson Santos. Same thing for Craig Forsyth.
Yeah, double 500-mile weekend is definitely something that takes a toll on these drivers. I think that Matt Wagner is just kind of sitting there, saving a little bit of fuel. He has Craig Forsyth kind of breathing down his neck a little bit. I think Craig wants to move his way forward, but I think Matt has supplanted himself right in this top 3 battle right here, and he wants to make sure that he keeps the top 3 situation going into this pit stop scenario.
2 distinct groups out of the racetrack right now. Stouffer leads the way back to the last car really in line there is Edson Santos, even though that Peterson is involved in the battle. Peterson had that incident, had to go to pit road, do the fast repair. He is down 1 lap, but he's in this lead pack. The second pack is led by Haisong. Haisong, Teed, Lovern, Morales, Pahutsky, Jim Herrick are all back there. And then they are losing more and more time to the leaders. There's about a 7-second to that first for that first group. And about 6.5 seconds to that first group.
I think Eric Peterson is doing just what he can to make sure he stays on 1 lap down situation. If there's any sort of pit drama or anything for these guys that are up front, he's going to take advantage and get that lap back. So he's kind of just staying right where he is right now. He's kind of hanging out behind P2, 3, and 4, all just kind of working on each other. And once these guys start to pit and he gets clean track, it might be a whole different scenario for him, and his race might completely turn around. But I have to give a big shout out to Stouffer. He is doing everything he can to kind of keep that gap going. There's no way that these guys are actually closing on him, and there's nothing that they can do that will keep or will threaten his lead.
Let's take a look at the points situation really quick. And thought I had them loaded up. I have the old version loaded up. That's okay. No problem. We'll get to those momentarily.
Yeah, keep in mind we're also kind of like secretly paying attention to the 1,000 lap.
Yep, we are.
Yeah. This battle for P2 continues to rage on. It seems that Murphy is doing what he can to keep up with Stouffer, and I think this like constant single file train is actually working. It's keeping them very, very focused and very fast, and they're not battling each other. And the gap to Stouffer looks to really be closing kind of a little bit, but I don't think he's going to be challenged before this first pit stop here. I think they're just trying to make sure that they stay in line and they try and push each other to go. And I think we're getting very close to pit stops here. I believe Mark Murphy might be pitting this time by lap 30. And Chris Stouffer also might be pitting this time by.
Here comes Stouffer,
yep,
here comes
like
Wagner,
Stouffer's in.
Here comes Murphy. And
it's time to see who can stop in front of. Yep, everyone seems to have made the pit stop speed limit there, but looks like actually Murphy closed in on Stouffer quite a bit there. So it's all about what happens in the pit box.
And no surprise, Forsyth staying out, who made some mileage that time.
It looks like yep, Stouffer made it out, but Wagner beats Murphy out, which is big in terms of how they were running on the track before. It looks like Murphy actually had a worse pit stop time, so Wagner's gonna be the front guy now to catch Stouffer. And again, these guys are leaving the pit lane, not having anyone to kind of suck up to and get a draft, kind of like what you would see at Indy or at any of the big ovals. So it looks like Stouffer did what he had to do to make sure he kept the gaps of the cars behind. Got Casey Pahutski, Joseph Morales, and Gary Lovern all doing their pit stops on lap 32. And all are very clean in their pit boxes, but they've come out right in the midst of other cars. And it looks like Gary Lovern didn't get out ahead of Charles Teed and Jeff Hysong. It looks like that they might be a little bit behind these guys and may have overcut them.
All right, round one done, right around lap 32 for everybody. And we'll just give you an idea here on the points here momentarily. I thought I saved them, but I may have gotten sidetracked. I don't know. Setting up sometimes, you got a middle checklist, and you're like, oh, I have that done already. Nope, I don't. Let's see. Let's get in here and take a look at Dark Horse, though. And yeah, the key number here is those that have completed the miles, because I believe we might be in danger with one of the drivers. I think that might be Peterson. Yeah, so only 3 drivers at this point have completed every single lap, every single mile of every single race, and that's Forsythe, Peterson, and Murphy. And right now, Peterson is already in jeopardy of not making it this time. He is down a lap. Oh, he was down a lap. Actually, he might have stayed out because he had that earlier stop, but he's probably due in pit road about any time now.
Yeah, probably around lap 41 or 42 or so, but Wagner and Forsythe are really going at it right now, and there's a huge battle happening, and Stouffer continues to extend his lead here.
Yeah, 1.4, and I don't care what you say about these cars. He has escaped the draft envelope. He is well in front, that there is no air benefiting the guys behind him when he's pulling away like that. They're not catching him.
You can see that Forsythe and Wagner are trying their best to kind of leapfrog each other to efficiency here to try and catch the leader. But at the moment, their lap times really aren't too differing. You see Forsythe and Wagner are doing high 41s, low 42s, and all by himself, Stouffer is doing high 41s. So they need to be doing something like a low to mid 41 in order to make it work to catch him. You see Forsythe kind of hung back a little bit there. He didn't really have enough juice to pass Wagner, but it looks like he's going to go for something in turn 3 here.
And he slides up and gives the bad air to Wagner.
And that just momentum going down the front straightaway. So if he's going to do a swap draft situation, he needs to really wait till the last second to make sure he has the speed. But you see Wagner does not do that. So Craig did a 41.7, Matt Wagner did a 42 flat, but Stouffer did a 41.8. So Forsythe picked up a 10th on them, on the leader. But
and I believe that was Forsythe's fastest lap of the race as well.
It could be the fastest lap of the race, but it does nothing to catch the leader.
No.
So Stouffer is doing everything he can to stay out in that lead, and it seems to be working. After a great pit stop, pit stops kind of stressed everybody out a little bit, but he seemed to manage to find a way to get the fastest pit stop to actually extend his lead a little bit. Mark Cohn's sitting there in P4. Edson Santos is sitting there in P5. And these guys just sit here in the back of this train and just wonder, hey, can I actually do something to make this lead pack catch up to the leader, or do I just sit here? So it's such a hard situation when you're sitting in that spot to figure out where you stand in the pecking order. Looks like they stay single file into turn 1 again. Oh, nope. Looks like Matt Wagner is going to make a move on Forsythe there. Going into turn 1. Looks like they may have kind of figured something out. Let's see if Forsythe makes the move down
there he goes. 2. Down Long Pond straight into 2. We got the points out. We can show those momentarily. I'm going to blow them up on screen here so they're a little bit easier to see. We'll get them right after this action resolves itself. And it has a little bit, so we will pop up those points one more time. So there, as you see, the key thing here, and let me bring up my telestrator, are these numbers right there. Those are the 3 drivers that have completed the 1,000 miles so far in the 2 races. And then the other key thing here is Stouffer is 4th in points, did not have a good race at Michigan. And he is, what was round 2? Round 2 was Michigan, right? Yeah, round 2 was Michigan. He did not have a good race there. But he is having a good race here today and might find himself in recovery. But the points leader going into this today, into this race, is still Craig Forsyth, who has a nice little gap over himself and Peterson. Peterson's already struggling a little bit today, so that's leaving the door open for Mark Murphy to probably jump him in this race if Murphy can have himself a good 500 miles. But right now, the biggest winner, as it looks like, it might be Stouffer, who is in fourth, who is our current leader at the moment.
Yeah, I think Stouffer's doing everything he possibly can to keep this lead going. These guys are not really kind of swap drafting in an efficient way that's closing any sort of gap on them, but I think Stouffer's probably sitting very comfortable saying, okay, maybe if I kind of take an easy pit stop on my next pit stop, maybe it'll be good enough to keep my lead. It's not like you're trying to actually jump someone or anything like that. So I think Wagner and Forsyth have kind of supplanted themselves into P2 and P3. Mark Cohn is under pressure from Mark Murphy. I think Murphy's probably feeling a little bit pushed to the side after having pole position there, but he continues to run in the top 5, and he has a shot.
Still a very long way to go. We've just passed the 100-mile mark. We're looking at, again, right about 30 laps for a tank of fuel and a fuel run here. Stouffer did 30 exactly on his first stint, even though he came in at lap, would have been his 31st lap. So we're looking about lap 60, 61, 62 for the next set of stops, so we're still a ways away from that.
Seems these guys are right on that 30, 31 lap mark for their green flag stint. So I think you're right. I think we're looking around like 60, 61 or so. But if you're trying to do the race backwards, as we all know, similar to the Indy 500, you want to kind of tamper your pit stops back a little more. So at some point in this race, if we do run green, we have to kind of consider going from the end of the race backward. And if you pit from the front of the pack, you will not lose laps. So I'll be interested to see if any of these guys kind of consider that, saying, okay, this third pit stop I want to pit a little bit early to make sure I'm going to the end of the race, or if they're going to keep going on their full tank situation for the rest of the race.
Track record for these cars actually was set back when they visited here in 2014. These DW12s, Juan Montoya has a track record back then, beat a 2:23.8. Not necessarily that fast today. We're in the 2:17s for quals. Take a look at last lap speeds for these leaders. Everybody in the 2:14s, 2:15s.
I'd say that Mark Murphy is running very fast laps right now, catching up to this second and third place.
Yeah, he is.
It looks like he kind of broke away a little bit from Mark Cohn. Cohn's still kind of riding with him there, but you could definitely see this second, third, fourth, fifth group here seems to have found each other, and they're actually running quite good speeds. Nothing that's very...
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Very close there, yes.
Whoa.
I was going to say they're all running very good speeds. Forsyth definitely kind of ruined that train a little bit, and as you can see, Mark Murphy saying, "Yep, I'm going to take the spot now." And I think Mark Murphy is the car that's fastest of these four here. Mark Cohn,
15-lap old tires too.
I think Mark Cohn might be the second fastest here. So if these two cars behind swap with these two cars in the front, it's quite possible they could work with each other to get up to Chris Stouffer, but I don't think that they want to give up their spots at all. I think Wagner and Forsyth are saying, hey, this is where I'm staying right now, and if you want to pass me, you're going to need to do it in such a way that's clean and showing that you're faster than me. But at the same time, as a group, you have to realize, okay, Stouffer is a second and a half ahead. Here comes Mark Cohn on the inside of Murphy. Maybe Murphy's kind of giving it up a little bit, or he might have just made a mistake in turn one there. But it's definitely this top six here that's running together, and then you have the whole P7 through P13 that are running together.
And we'll go back to that second group there as Jeff Hysong is the leader of that group. He has himself a 9/10 of a second lead, almost at a second over Lovern in 8th. Teed right behind Lovern in 9th. Jim Herrick has worked his way into 10th. We're coming up to the 50-lap mark.
And one thing to consider is that if any of those guys in the second pack have a really great pit stop and they kind of put themselves right in the middle of the two packs, it could be similar to a Chris Stover situation where you're saying, okay, I'm running by myself, I'm running clean air. I may actually be faster just running by myself instead of sitting in someone's dirty air for the longest time.
Right.
And if you find yourself actually going a little faster, it's possible that you may need a whole pit stop to do it, but you could actually catch up to that front pack and run with them. So I'll be interested to see if anyone in that second pack has just a stellar pit stop and just kind of beats everybody out, finds a way to get up to the front pack here. But it won't take 10, 12 laps. It might take like 25, 30 laps. So I'm interested to see that in the next stint.
Season-long coverage of the Dark Horse 2,000 mile ride series. Goodness. And speaking of our sponsor, there he is making a move on Murph and getting it done. As I was saying, though, is brought to you by the Joy of Racing. Looking for entertainment and sim racing content? Well, look no further than the Joy of Driving. Follow Mark Cohn's racing escapades as he battles for wins and avoids wrecks with cat-like reflexes, all the while providing commentary to make you laugh, cry, or both. Follow along by subscribing to the Joy of Driving on YouTube or like his Facebook page at The Joy of Driving. He is the sponsor of today's WATCHMAN 500 from Pocono. Currently is in 5th place at the moment as now Santos taking a look underneath the WATCHMAN, now tucking back in. I think Santos has been doing nothing but saving back there. He has not really made a move on anybody, and has just been kind of following along.
I had that exact same thought, Gary. It looks like, look at the last lap, people got a little impatient. They're saying, okay, I have the speed to be ahead of you. You see Mark Cohn going underneath Mark Murphy there in turn 2. Looks like Murphy got a little high, but I even saw that with Wagner and Forsythe. They look like they got a little impatient with each other. And I think that Wagner said, okay, I'll sit behind one more lap. But at the same time, Stouffer continues to pull away teeny bits at a time. It was 1.1 a few laps ago. Now it's 1.3. It kind of fluctuates a little bit, but I think that this next pit stop is really going to try and solidify what this group has going on. I think we're about like 8 or 9 laps away from our next pit stop. Do you predict that Stouffer will stay ahead, or do you think that one of these guys might kind of do a little bit of a short fill, thinking about that end of the race situation, counting back?
If there is one that we've seen before in races in the DW12 that have played different strategies with varying amount of fuel in the car, actually Santos is one of those people that we have seen him do that. We've seen him do that in the VOR series. I would not be surprised to see him make that move. Now, this is a much longer race than what the VOR series normally runs, so maybe he might not do that and just wait till later in the race. But if you wait till later in the race, then you've kind of used all your opportunities to stop. You've used all those rounds in the chamber, so to speak. So he might give it a shot. He might give it a shot here sooner rather than later and not wait as long. But a long race here, so you do have many shots in the pits to try something like that. But the more you don't try it, the farther back he falls, the harder it is to pull that off, wouldn't it be?
I think at the same time you have to consider that at the end of the race you need a splash of fuel. So I think you have to actually consider going backwards from the end of the race. And we're getting cut. Well, we're not at halfway yet, but it's time to start really thinking about it. And this race has been pretty clean and green so far. I don't see really anything happening caution-wise unless it's during a pit stop rotation. So I think it's time to start considering something like maybe doing a short fill to see if you can get up there and be the leader.
Whoa.
Wow, that was close.
Wagner and Forsythe once again in turn 3.
So you see these guys play nice, they play nice, they play nice, and then suddenly they don't play nice anymore. So, yeah, Forsythe definitely is kind of feeling the heat right now. He thinks he's a little bit faster than Wagner. If he gets by him, he might be able to run a little bit faster than him, but Stouffer might be sweating a little bit, saying, okay, if Stouffer gets into second place and starts to catch me, he's going to bring that whole entire train with him. So, yeah, I could see Wagner really defending here. He wants to stay second place, even though he's losing a tiny bit of time to Stouffer. I think he sees that he has enough pace to kind of hang in there. And we see the gap now is 1.1, so I think Stouffer and Wagner are trading fastest laps here. It looks like the gap kind of extends a little bit, and then it kind of falls back a little bit, and then kind of extends a little bit. So this next pit stop will be very crucial. I think Stouffer wants to make sure he's probably already thinking about it 5 or 6 laps ahead of time, saying, okay, I have to make sure that I brake in the right spot. You know, he may have wanted to kind of lean into his next pit stop a little bit, but actually he's probably really stressing out about it, saying, okay, I want to extend this lead a little bit or even just maintain it to make sure that nobody comes up and threatens me for a position. So I think he's already kind of stressing out about it, and Forsythe's got to run here. I think he's going to take it in turn 1.
So about 4 laps from now, we kind of expect Stouffer in his next stop, thereabouts. At least that's where we forecast him to be. Let's maybe he has come back to the leaders a little bit. He has come back to P2 and P3 as they continue to race each other down the Long Pond Straight. He might be just rolling back a little bit and trying to save a little bit of fuel since he has a little bit of a cushion. He is now under a second to Wagner. So we'll see if anybody makes that turn on the pit road about 3 laps from now.
I think that was a very efficient fuel save that Forsythe just did that whole entire lap there. He passed Wagner down the front straightaway. He's going to do it again. Wagner might be lifting a little bit, give Forsythe the run on the inside, give him the inside going into 1 and 2. Wagner hangs back a little bit. Now Forsythe might try and lift a tiny bit down the back straightaway, giving Wagner the draft, and Wagner pops out. Perfect. It's such a perfect run, and if you do it the right way and you put egos aside, saying I'm the fastest car, I'm the best doing this, you can actually make a lot of inroads, and it just takes a little bit of humility. And look at that, they've already pulled away from Mark Cohn,
yes,
Mark Murphy,
have.
and Edson Santos, and I think that finally, after Forsythe dove it in there, I think it was time for both of these guys to say, okay, I'm going to work with you now, let's get this done. And look at that, they pulled away from P4. It's not even a threat anymore.
There's egos in sim racing, Andrew?
No.
Okay.
Not,
All right.
Not really.
Fake news. Okay.
Let's strike that from the record. We're getting very close to these pit stops here, so let's start considering what's happening. Let's do a full field rundown, maybe.
Yeah, we got Stouffer in first, who is now 28 laps under his current stint, as well as Wagner in second, 28 laps on his current stint. And we have a group of 2 cars. And I believe Stouffer coming in now with Wagner right now. This is planned stop, and we also have Murph on this stop as well, and that's exactly what happened in round 1. Now, can Wagner get the jump on Stouffer here? Because that's where Wagner got the jump on Murph on the first stop. So we're going to watch both these guys come down to their stall and get the work done on their cars. There is Murphy hits, there's Wagner hits his marks. Murph kind of slides forward and misses it, has the roll back, and has to get it re-aimed again. Stouffer outrunning, beats out Wagner. Wagner, the loser there. Murph, oh my goodness. He's going to be kicking himself in that one. Coming to pit road, Forsythe, all by himself right now.
A little bit earlier than we projected, so I'm wondering if these guys are kind of running on a different fuel strategy. Maybe they're trying to go full bore and not really do a splash. If they want to have the pace to do it, it's all about the pit in and the pit out. So let's see what happens.
And down and away for Craig Forsythe. Cone now staying out. He's going long. And Edson Santos, we speculated he is going long at the moment. And both of them bypass pit road.
Yeah, I'm watching to see where exactly Matt Wagner and Chris Stouffer are. Forsyth comes out right behind Stouffer, so that was actually a very good stop for Forsyth. Looks like he came out right in Stouffer's draft, so that is exactly what I was talking about before. Stouffer needed to kind of plan out his braking point. He had a lot of laps to kind of figure it out, just sitting up there in front. Wagner's got the run on Forsyth right now, and he's going to make the run. And now, Stouffer is actually in the crosshairs of these guys now, whereas before he was just kind of a little bit ahead, not really in draft range.
Oh, Cone, did he speed coming to pit road?
Very close.
Santos still staying out. Santos now 31 laps in.
And again, if you save a little bit, it's helpful for the last stop, but you also have to plan when you want to do your short stint here. You can't just make it on 30, 30, 30 all the way to 200. You have to plan something kind of in the middle. You see Mark Cohn leaving his box now.
Okay, good. He did not get caught for speeding in the box for 9.2 seconds.
It was very, very close for sure. So Stouffer speeds by. Here comes Wagner.
Santos in pit road.
Forsyth is probably coming by him as well, but oh, wow. That was very, very close for Forsyth and Cohn. I think Forsyth got away with that one. I believe I don't see any damage on the car, so that's good. But I think that I think because of the confusion, Forsyth dropped off the back of that pack a little bit. So now he's got to rely on the same person he almost came into contact with to kind of draft back up there again to the leaders.
Ooh.
But I think it's going to be a top three battle here. We got Edson Santos coming out, but he's not going to be in any draft range of these guys. So he must have had a very slow pit stop.
9.4. So the quickest out of the top five was actually Forsyth with a 9-second flat, and that was faster by 0.2 than the next fastest guys, which were Wagner and Cohn.
But that was quickly hampered by the car coming off pit lane there.
Yep.
So unfortunately, that hurt Forsyth a little bit, and it's so wild when you say, okay, I had the best pit stop time, but when I came back out on track, there was a car there, and I had to ditch him to avoid him and lift, because these guys are going over 215, 220 miles per hour down the straightaway, and if you lift at all, that's the end of it.
Yeah, you might as well hit the brake at that point with the aero on these cars, even with the little downforce they have for the super speedway. There is quite a bit of downforce being applied aerodynamically, and it's just like hitting a brake when you get off the accelerator on these things. Well, Forsyth moving around Cohn back up to fourth, but pit stops are done for the second round. Stouffer is still your leader by 0.7 over Wagner. Wagner is in P2. A good pit stop for him, and actually they came in with a group of three. Mark Murphy fortunately had trouble finding the marks on his second stop. He fell back to sixth, so he is probably the biggest loser out of this rotation. Mark Cohn and Craig Forsyth continue to swap the lead. This is a battle for third and fourth. Edson Santos in fifth.
So we have Mark Murphy sitting at the back of this pack, and that's kind of what I was talking about before. It's an opportunity for someone kind of in the middle of these two packs to see if they can make up any ground. Murphy had a bad pit stop there, but if he has a good pit stop on the next round, this might be the opportunity for him to actually do the short stint that I was kind of talking about before. See if he can maybe do a quick stint in the pits and then get right back up into the mix again, and even possibly come out and leave if it's a shorter stop. One thing I should mention, though, is that Eric Peterson's on kind of a different pit rotation right now, but he's sitting in 7th place right now, and yes, he'll have to pit soon. He might fall the lap down again, but he's had a pretty clean race since that incident with Rafi Eckert. So if a caution comes out at the right time, he's sitting right in the right spot. It just has to come out, obviously, right when these guys come out of pit lane or something of that nature.
There we see Peterson racing Herrick. Jim Herrick back in P8. This is a battle for 7th. And Herrick's on a slightly different schedule, too. He's 13 laps into his next stint. Peterson is 17 laps into his current stint, so that's what I meant to say. 13 laps for Herrick in his current stint, 17 for Peterson in his current stint. We expect to see Peterson probably in another 15 laps or so, maybe another 13 laps or so, right around the 30 mark one more time. A lot can still happen in that time frame. 70 of 200 now quickly coming to us. We are here at Legacy Pocono for the Watchman 500, where we have the leader is Chris Stouffer, the Pocono whisperer of the group. He has been the leader for much of the day so far. Wagner P2, Forsyth P3, Mark Cohn P4, Edson Santos P5. Make sure to smash that like button. Let me know that you're appreciating what you're seeing so far here today. And also subscribe to the channel, why don't you? We are a new channel, so we could use your subs to make sure to ring the bell for notification on the next iRacing video that we have coming up here on P1. We got mini doubleheaders. This is the first of 3 doubleheaders that we have coming this week. Doubleheader Monday and a doubleheader on Wednesday. This is doubleheader day 1 on Sunday, so big week here on the channel. Please check us out. Ring the bell. You'll get notified of when those new streams go live. We're at that 70 mark.
I'm watching the Cohn and Forsyth possible swap draft situation here, and I'm trying to figure out. Okay, so Cohn's going to the inside now. So Forsyth has run faster than the leaders the last 2 laps, but he hasn't quite gotten the swapping that needs. Okay, Cohn's gone by. I want to see if Forsyth is going to make the move down the front straightaway here. I think he might be doing it. Okay, so it looks like he's going for it. Looked like for that whole entire lap that you were talking there that they kind of gave up on it a little bit. It's interesting because the way that these cars are set up, it's quite possible that they can only swap draft twice a lap, and I think before they were trying to swap draft 3 times a lap.
And the leaders now are doing it, as Stouffer and Wagner are now doing it.
Yeah, so it looks like Wagner's caught up to Stouffer and is doing it. So I think you got to find the right time and the right place to do it. I think turn 1 and turn 2 are the best places to swap draft, and then kind of run offset in turn 3 in order to do it.
Chris Stouffer, 9 starts in the series, 2 wins, 6 top 10s, 6 top 5s, 6 top 10s. He's led up until today 216 total laps in those 9 races.
I now shifted my attention to the second pack here to see what they're doing, and looks like Eric Peterson, the lap down car, as it were. He hasn't pit yet, but I think it's coming soon. He's working with Charles Teed, and it seems like they're kind of doing, I'm not sure what they're doing actually. Charles Teed looks to be blocking him, running down the back, the front straightaway, but they're not really running any speeds close to what the leaders are running, so not sure what the swap draft situation is there. It's quite possible that since they're like 13, 14 seconds back, that there's not much they can do without a caution, so might just kind of be every man for himself back here. We have Jeff Hysong and
Herrick, that's a battle for position.
Herrick, yep. But you can see that most of this pack is kind of single file right now. They're kind of figuring out what their situation is and where they stand. I don't know if they're going to be lapped by the end of this race or not, just kind of hanging out where they are. But Stouffer and Wagner are definitely doing their thing up front and kind of working together, kind of battling each other at the same time. I think
watching the battle with Hysong and Herrick, but yeah, we've got battles all over the place, really. The lead, we now have Wagner's by Stouffer, and actually Wagner's kind of pulling away, and also Cohn around Forsyth still as they continue to swap that position, but Stouffer's managed to fall back about a tenth of a second on Wagner, but now he's reeling him back in as we get to the long main straightaway here.
Yeah, I'm constantly watching the lap times between P1 and 2 and P3 and 4, seeing who's doing it more efficiently, and it seems that Wagner is trying to get himself ahead and not really swap draft. So that's actually leading Cone and Forsythe to be quicker in certain parts, on certain laps. It looks like that last lap it was Wagner and Stouffer that were faster. But there were a few laps that Forsythe and Cone were actually closing in quite a bit on them.
I'm sorry about the Windows Explorer page that popped up there, but I'm trying to... Actually, I got sent an overlay update from my dev in the middle of the race, so... Trying to check that out, but yeah, Wagner now 3/10 over Stouffer. Maybe Stouffer's decided that he needs to save now. Maybe the best thing for him is just to get back in the draft. Maybe this is planned. We don't know. It's tough to tell. He is a very cerebral racer, so I would suspect that might be the case.
Yeah, it'll be a tough fuel save in general, especially if you're kind of running in pairs here. I think you have to plan what your short stint's going to be. I wouldn't wait till the very end to do it. I would probably do it somewhere in the middle, and hope that that's the right call. And maybe on this stop or the next stop, do a short stint and pull way ahead, and hope that the caution, should it come out, comes out maybe halfway during your stint. But we sort of run into this single file situation right now, so I don't really see any big moves happening. I noticed that Peterson is still out on track, and I know he's offset from the rest of these guys. He should be pitting probably any lap now, within a handful of laps or so. Otherwise, he may have been saving some sort of fuel, so maybe he's trying to pick himself back up to be on a similar stint count as the rest of the guys, because he did have that incident kind of middle of the stint. So if he saves enough fuel, he can kind of get on the same laps as these guys and just kind of hang out stuck behind Teed there.
Excuse me. My voice has been rough. Been doing a lot of talking on these races lately. I have not been allowing my voice to rest. Peterson back here. We're checking him out. Peterson now 28 laps into the current stint. We'll see. We expect in about 2 laps, Peterson will make his turn down the pit road. And this is it right here. He's coming to pit road right now.
In speed there, so that's good. And we'll see how far behind he falls. I imagine he's going to come out in that big, huge gap between P6 and P7. But we'll see what happens.
Slides to a stop, hits the marks, up on the jacks. And down and away.
See Murph coming by, pit out right now. So, yeah, Peterson's going to come out right in that huge gap between P6 and P7. So, yeah, he's a lap down now. The best situation for him would be a caution right around when all the leaders start to pit and he gets his lap back. Or he just gets all the track position back again. You see Santos working on Forsythe now, so Cone has pulled out a little bit of a gap on Forsythe. Not sure how that's happened so much, but Forsythe's fallen back now in P5, and or is that P4? Yeah, P4, and Santos is
move
is
Santos
making
up
his
to
way
P4.
forward.
Yep, move Santos.
As you mentioned on the last stint there, I think Santos might have been doing a bunch of fuel saving. And it might be time for him to start making the moves now, especially if he sees that Forsythe and Cone are broken up. now is an opportunity for him to kind of pull his way forward little by little. Did you notice last stop? Did Santos stay out an extra lap or two, or
Yeah, he stayed out longer than everyone else. He on his stint. Let me look at Santos. 32 laps on that last stint. He was a lap longer than everyone else.
I think that's a byproduct of him saving the fuel behind Cone, Forsyth, Wagner, etc. So it's possible that his short stint could be even shorter if he plans to do so. But again, these guys around the third pit stop, it's time to start considering, hey, this race is going super caution-free. Do I want to do a splash at the end, or do I want to kind of maybe throw something in the middle here to do a shorter stint and get a huge gap on everyone? It's a gamble to do that because obviously you're putting yourself in a situation where you have to take more fuel should there a caution come out somewhere in the lap 100s of any sort. But the way this race is kind of going, I don't really think that there's going to be a lot of caution going forward.
No, don't have a lot of cars in direct contact. That's where we expect the cautions to happen. And right now, those cars that are in direct contact are really in a position where they need each other for cooperation and are giving each other lots of room at the moment. Those battles on the racetrack is Wagner and Stouffer, and Forsyth and Santos, and then a little bit further on back, Pahutsky and Lovern.
I think the only way we'll get a caution going forward is a lack of concentration, because these guys, keep in mind, like we're sitting here chatting and having fun. These guys are sitting in a cockpit and they're constantly thinking about the next corner, where I got to turn, where I got to brake, or not brake, but where I got to turn into my racing line, or where I got to put my car, and it's all fine and good for a while, but after 100 laps of doing that, a little over an hour goes by, it's like, okay, your mind starts to wander. What am I having for breakfast tomorrow? How am I setting up? How am I setting up my week?
Did I get my TPS report done that I have to have at work tomorrow?
Exactly. Well, did I forget to check my email? Did I close my garage door? Did I do something? So there's all sorts of things that could happen. That, hey, I'm going down a straightaway and suddenly I got to turn and my mind is somewhere else, and next thing you find yourself in the wall. So anything could happen, really, but when you see a field spread out such as this, it's very difficult to find a situation where you're saying, oh yeah, a caution is definitely going to come out with this group of cars that are battling each other.
Well,
the best you got is an in or out lap.
Right, and the other thing to consider is possible mechanicals out there with the wheel disconnects or something like that, and brings out a caution with the contact with the wall, that type of thing. But yeah, we aren't exactly wishing that on anybody. But yeah, when you're in the middle of these 500-mile races, the mind does begin to wander, and then even on top of that, as you if there's anybody here racing in VR, you're kind of staring, into the abyss, so to speak, as everything else around you is kind of blacked out. And that sometimes causes you to lose focus a little bit, even though that you're in VR, but it's just the world around you. Everything just kind of, you're in almost I want to say tunnel vision.
What happens if your water bottle empties?
Oh yeah. Murph coming to pit road Murph.
Okay, this might be one of our early. He might have listened to me and said, "Hey, I got to do a short stint somewhere. Let's do it right now."
27
laps. This is one of those tracks where you pit, you don't lose a lap. And Murph was kind of right on the back end of that. I think you have to be about 7-8 seconds back or so before you lose a lap. So I think Murph is going to come out right ahead of these leaders. Jeff Heitzong is also coming in, but he'll fall a lap down because he was in the second pack. Here comes Wagner.
8.8 in the box.
Yep, I think these guys have finally reached a point where they said, okay, this race is not going with the caution. Let's do our short stint right now. They're back the race up from 200 all the way back to now. So what do we got? Lap 90. That's 111 laps to go. Still a little early, I think, but it might not be. Let's do a super short stint. Let's just break it down like 25 or 27 laps from here. To make sure that we make it to the end. But if you see the leaders starting to do it, it's going to happen with most of this lead pack. But some of that second pack might start to kind of infiltrate that front pack a little bit, which could confuse things a little bit. So I'm interested to see what the next stop will be. So we're at lap 89 right now. Let's see if Wagner and Murph do 27 laps, 28 laps, and they just try and make that their stint towards the end.
And Murph and Wags are working together in the same audio channel, so they are kind of cooperating. Right now, Stouffer he's working with other drivers, but they are further back in the field. Stouffer's teammates Forsyth and fourth. We're watching that battle right here with Santos and Forsyth, and Jim Herrick back in 12th. And here comes the call for Stouffer, pit road for our leader.
It's like watching a NASCAR race. When all the cars around you pit, you also pit. But I don't know if that's the right call around here. I think it's when you feel most comfortable that when you pit, you're going to have a short stint later on in the race. And I personally, if it were me, I think this is one pit cycle too early to consider the end of the race, especially with how this race has gone green thus far. So, of course, anything can happen. I would have waited probably till around like the lap 120 stint and say, okay, I'll come in on 118 and then kind of run 28 from there.
Here comes Wagner. Full head of steam. And he's going to pass Stouffer down Long Pond Straight. Trying to break the draft. And he's starting to pull away a little bit because Stouffer's not completely up to speed. So Wagner comes out ahead on this deal for making that early stop.
I think Stouffer is still close enough. He's right on the edge of that draft envelope there that you were talking about. But I think, I think Matt Wagner has definitely had the better run on pit stops thus far. They've definitely jumped Forsyth. Forsyth is still on the exit of turn 1. Murphy is still coming around turn 1. I don't think he's going to catch Forsyth before he gets up to speed. So no one's got drafting partners right now. So this is one of those situations where you're saying, I've made my bed. I got to find my pit strategy from here. There's no help from any of these top 4 right now.
Santos and Cone hit pit road at the same time. These two might actually have an ability to work with one another. They're both down off the jacks. Tires are changed. Full of shell fuel, and they are rolling, and they're out side by side now. Now Cone actually gets in and slots himself in front of Santos.
So these guys have done the full tank stop lap 92. We were saying there's around 30, 31, maybe 32 if you do it. So these guys have run the full gambit, and they seem to have come out ahead of Forsyth and Murphy, who have hit early. So that's a disadvantage to them, but see what happens with this. But I think this actually might help Forsyth if he catches them to catch that group ahead, because he's able to draft up on them. But I think it's important to note that the guys that did the earlier pit stop came out behind the guys that had to do the full stint and the full stop. So advantage to Cone and to Santos at this point, unless there's a caution that comes out later. But it's very tough to see, and it's tough to call exactly what the strategy would be for the front two.
Yeah, and they are working directly with one. They're the only pair of cars close together that can work with one another among the leaders. So they're going to try to do that right now as they wheel in Stouffer. But Wagner is your leader, as this third round of pit stops is now complete. Wagner, Stouffer, Cone, Santos. Cone, Santos is the battle you're watching right now. Forsyth, Murphy, Peterson back on the lead lap. Charles Teed in 8th. Jim Herrick in 9th. Hysong in 10th. Everybody involved in the race right now still on the lead lap, all the way back to Bahutsky and Morales back in the 12th and 13th. Back there battling it out right now. There they are down the front straight.
I would say those guys in P12, P13, Bahutsky and Morales, they will be lapped at some point in this race because they're falling completely off of any draft train that they've been working on. And the leaders will encounter them possibly by end of this stint, beginning of next stint, and that will be very interesting to see what breaks up then. So the leaders have to keep that in mind too. Like, hey, am I actually catching the back of this pack? How are they going to impact my race? Someone that like a Cone or a Santos that have done this full fuel run would be very comfortable saying, okay, I'm ditching and coming into the pits now. They're working very effectively right now by doing a swap draft situation. So they're catching Wagner and Stouffer a teeny bit at a time, just like a half a car length at a time, which is exactly what they need to do. But I think Wagner and Stouffer have to really consider now, like, oh, I hope I catch them like right at the end of this fuel cycle where I can dip into the pits and possibly do a better pit stop and come out around the same time as them.
No swap draft this time for a third and fourth. Looks like Cone was actually kind of defensively driving down the front stretch. Now Santos underneath going into two. Santos clears Cone, moves Santos now up to third.
Well, note that Cone and Forsyth tried this for a whole stint last time around, and I think they were a little unhappy with how it was going. So I think Cone's trying. Ooh, we got very close to the turn 3 wall there. I think he's trying his best to kind of like tutor Santos at the same time as actually do it done. I think they found a very efficient way to do it because they started to close in on Stouffer and Wagner up front on the last stint with Forsyth and Cone, I should mention. I think you have to do it on 2 turns on the track and not all 3. Not like, okay, let me hang back and draft here, let me hang back and draft here. I think it works best, honestly, in 1 and 2 and leave 3 to kind of like sit, kind of tether your lines on turn 3 and make the big run down the front straight, and then the second pass down the long pond straight going into the tunnel turn, and then kind of sit there for turn 3. I think it's the best drafting situation from what I've seen from the Cone and Forsyth situation.
Riding with Santos at the moment. Now he has the run on Cone. Gonna take a look to the inside going into turn 2. And he clears Cone. Now Cone lining up for turn 3. And halfway point reached. 250 miles in the book for this round of the 2,000-mile ride Summer Series. After this, it's just one more round to go. Indianapolis next 2 Sundays from now on the 22nd. And look inside the cockpit of Edson Santos. Very quiet there. Not on quiet on this one. Up on the roll bar.
So I find it interesting that Forsyth has fallen off this pack. He must have had a very bad pit stop. What was his pit stop time? Because I think Forsyth pit at the best time for him to come out right with Wagner and Stouffer. Did he have any trouble on pit lane?
Let's take a look here. Forsyth, 31.8 total time on pit road. That wasn't the worst time in the top 5. Stouffer was also on pit road for 31.8 seconds. He did a 9.7 second stop, and so did Stouffer. So Stouffer and Forsyth teammates did identical stops.
I just found it interesting because Forsyth had one of the best pit stops last time around, but they got hung up with the Cone situation.
Yeah, Cone was 9.3 in the box, and Santos was 9.1. So they were faster, significantly faster than Forsyth's 9.7. And that pretty much is why the difference on the racetrack.
Yeah, it must have been like a pit in or pit out issue for Forsyth because he should not be as far back from Stouffer and Wagner as he is right now. So from here, if Forsyth, I think Forsyth stayed out like a lap or 2 later than Wagner and Stouffer. So I think his best interest for next pit stop around is maybe do a shorter pit stop and try and pick up some track position there to stick with them, and then kind of back his race up from there.
Yeah, he came in 2 laps after Wagner, same lap as Stouffer.
Right, and I mean, coming in the same lap as Stouffer, and then he's sitting 3.7 seconds back. Something had to have
something happened.
There.
Yep.
So I think it's best for him to kind of change. If it was me, I'd say, okay, I got to change my strategy to go maybe 2 or 3 laps earlier and do a very aggressive pit in and pit out. And perhaps I got to save a little bit more fuel as Edson Santos hits very high in turn 3 there. He rode the wall completely all the way around, and he's lost his draft opportunity with Mark Cohn going forward here.
Meanwhile, back up front, Stouffer and Wagner continue to lead and continue to swap the lead back and forth a number of times. Stouffer's led 54 laps today, coming to 55. Wagner, he's led 27. Stouffer in the lane right above the bottom. So the bottom is the very bumpy lane. Oh, Santos flirting with the turn.
Santos, yeah. I just clicked over that.
Flirting with the wall there in turn 1 exit. And I think I know what he's trying. I mean, he's trying to unwind that wheel a little bit sooner and sooner and sooner to get that car going as straight and as fast as possible. He might have a little bit of aero wash too, but
he lost that. Yeah, he lost that draft to Mark Cohn. So I think it's one of those desperation, like, oh no, I messed up, I lost the draft, I have to get it back, and you have to break through the bubble in order to do that, and that's very hard to do. Let's look out for earlier pit stops, because if we're doing 31, 32 or so, we're going to be looking at around lap 110. 110, 111, 112 if people are starting to back up their race, right? As we mentioned, we could do 30, 31 on a stint. Lap 110 is going to be very telling if someone is committed to doing a full stint from lap 110, 111 onwards.
Well, the next probably stop we're going to see, Santos, there it is, pit road, lap 107, and then the next one we're going to probably see after him is Peterson, who is 26 laps into his current stint. Remember, he's a little bit differently because of that incident that he had with Rafi Santos very early in the race. Rafi Eckert earlier in the race, Santos' teammate. But Santos on pit road for what will be his short stop, or let's see what it is, 8.1 seconds, 30.4 on pit road.
It's early. Like, I think you need to wait till 110 to do it. Right, because we're doing 31, possibly 32 laps.
Here's Peterson.
You're banking on doing 32 laps for the end. That's very tough to do. I would have waited till 110, 111, just to be safe. That you have perhaps like a full stint doing full fuel burn. It's early for Santos, but let's see how it works out for him. Got to mark that one down.
And Santos is done. So Santos and Peterson now, they're on the same schedule.
Yeah, we thought Peterson was kind of a little bit on the back foot this race because of his situation with the incident before. So he's not far off from the optimal strategy of making it to the end. If Peterson kind of hangs back a little bit and he could do, say, 33 laps for the end of this race, he's sitting kind of good to finish on the lead lap.
I mean, he's a little bit behind Santos. He's about 22 seconds behind Santos right now, but they are on the same schedule now. So now let's go back up front and see what these leaders decide they're going to answer. Are they going to answer, or are they going to stick to the plan? Stouffer, your leader now by 1.3 over Wagner. He's coming to lap 22 of the stint. Wagner looking at probably pitting here in the next I'm going to say.
If I were safe, I do lap 111.
Okay.
Make sure.
I think Wagner is still going to be due on pit road probably in the next 8 laps at the very most. Here's Mark Cohn. Mark Cohn, 17 laps into his current stint, went 30 last time.
Jim Herrick's coming in the pits right now. Oh, he's wow, he got that was a very risky pit in there for Jim Herrick, but I think he did it.
We'll see if he gets the hold as he gets to his box.
I think he made it. It looked very from watching him from afar. It looked like he kind of sped in there, but I think he made it just fine. This is interesting from someone in the second pack trying to pit early, but hey, you got to do what you got to do, right? If you get it done early, and same thing, a caution comes out right in that middle of the 2 packs pitting, you could be finding yourself in a good spot.
And on pit road for 30.8, in the box for 8.6. So another quick stop, sub 9 for the Herrick 40 crew. Now, do we see any of the teammates answer? Here's Stouffer coming to pit road. Nope, he's going to stay on the racetrack. One more lap. Wagner, same way. Cohn, same way. Forsyth, same way. Murph?
I think they're committed to like a 27 to go to the end. They probably did the math backwards in such a way that it's not a full stint. It's doing like a 26 or a 27 lapper to go to the end. But it may change on the next pit stop. So I think we're going to see them around like lap 1. 17 or 18.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll predict lap 118. We'll start seeing these guys peel in.
Wagner, 68 starts here in the Dark Horse Series, 7 career wins, 36 top 5s, 47 top 10s. So close to multiple series championships.
Craig Forsyth's in the pits now.
Definitely wants to get a good win in today. Forsyth on pit road.
So he's backed it up. He's going to be doing a 29 lapper from here on out, I believe. Yep, 29 times 3 more stints would be 87 laps. Yeah, lap 113. So he's going to be doing 29 to the end, I think.
87, yep. And then add 113. That's 200.
That's quick math for me, Gary. That's why I did that quick noise.
That's the catalyst, the computer running there.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That was the quickly computing noise. But I think that Craig is the first person to dip in and start thinking about the end of the race early. Okay, 30's good, but 29 is safe. I can run as fast as I possibly can. I don't have to worry about another pit stop throw in the middle, or I don't have to look at my fuel numbers, just run flat out from here. I think that's a great strategy from Craig right there.
Now, here comes Murph. You're right. You're absolutely right. Here comes Murph to pit road. Let me ask you this. When you run, do you run metric or do you run freedom units?
I run metric. Okay,
so yeah, that's another thing that I see a lot of the leading drivers do, is they go ahead and they just do the metric versus the fools like me that still prefer the freedom units. But
kicking and screaming, to be fair.
I am going to go kicking and screaming. I'm an old man. But we used to have, in Lionheart, I was on a team. If you remember, I was me and Gavin Sanders and Dakota DeMaine. That was our team. And Dakota, I think, used freedom units, but he would often consult Siri in the background on doing the calculations, and that was that little sound you make. That was him calling out the Siri.
Wow, what a throwback that is!
And my Siri's now is answering me, so I don't want her to.
It looks like Charles T did his stop, so he's on the same kind of wavelength here. And I mean, at this point, if no one's pitting now, and we're going to lap 117, 118, they're just splitting this race up in 27s and 28s for the
Stouffer pit road. Stouffer pit
Yep.
road. This is lap 25 for Stouffer, coming to 26. And when these are done, I got another question for you. Casey Pohutsky up to 5th now. He's right behind Jeff Hysong. They are due on pit road any lap here as well. Gary
I think
Lover as well.
Eric Peterson is salivating at this opportunity to get his lap back, because he's just kind of doing what he can to save his fuel, and he's running on 30 to the end. So if it works out for Eric Peterson, if a caution comes out at the right time, he's back on the lead lap again. He's hoping that these guys kind of break their pit stops up like they're doing.
Wagner pit road.
Okay, so we got Stouffer that just pit and Wagner that's pitting now. So we got to watch this to see who had the better pit stop.
There we see Hysong moving out of his stop. Cone still on the racetrack. Wagner hitting his service due. Get a good angle from his car. Tough to hidden behind the pace car there.
Stouffer's just crossing start finish now, so if Stouffer's able to get ahead of Wagner, he's sitting there on the bottom line.
He's got Forsyth with him now. Wagner on pit road, 9.4 seconds. Stouffer, 9.2. Forsyth, 8.2.
So I think Forsyth played his short pit stop situation in such a way that it put him right back up in this fight again for the lead.
And now we got a three-way battle for the lead here. The Watchman 500 from Pocono. Legacy Pocono here. iRacing action here on P1 as we are lap 120.
We got net P1, 2, and 3 all head to tail here. So I think this worked out nicely for Forsyth. If he was able to kind of back himself up to a 29 lapper for the end here, I think he's set himself up nicely for battling for this win.
You're right. And if we were to go back 100 miles ago, he was nowhere in contention. Now at the 300-mile mark, look where he is. This just tells you to be patient, and this is a long race.
I think it was time to make the short pit stop in such a way that it actually worked out. And as we see, someone dove into pit lane there, Pohutsky.
And Pohutsky's scheduled stop in the Schmidt-Peterson livery from those Aero DW12 years. We saw Hinch drive.
Give him credit. He's done 30, 30, 30, 30 so far. So he has not done a short stop yet. So he's going to fall a lap down here, but it looks like he is going to keep on right now, and his short stop's coming later. So he's hoping for being on the halfway through the stint where these guys pit. He gets his lap back, and therefore he gets all his track position back. Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. We were talking about one of my teammates using Siri. Do you think in the future there's actually any benefit to using, as AI becomes more and more prevalent, using AI to help with some of these strategy calls, provided that you feed AI with all the correct variables and information? Do you think it's helpful or would be helpful?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, AI is definitely good at probably converting the miles per gallon, freedom units as you call it, to a usage per lap. And if you're able to kind of speak to whatever computer is figuring that stuff out, I think it's going to be useful in the future. I'm not sure if I want to welcome that yet, but it's possible that kind of stuff is actually important. Marcone's on pit lane right now.
Pit road.
So it looks like he's not done his short stint yet, short stop, as it were. He wants to stay on the 30, and he's done a couple 31s in order to make it to 123. So it's possible that on a full fuel run, he was working with Forsyth on one stint, and he was working with Santos on another. So he's made it 31 a couple times at least. And you see Wagner, Forsyth, and Stouffer blow by there. So he's still running the full fuel stint there, and it's this just proves how important it is to get your pit stop perfect. You want to make sure you don't speed on the way in, or you don't have any sort of weird stoppage on the way in. I think Cone actually, when he does his short stint, could come out way ahead of these guys. He just hasn't decided to do it yet. And it all has to do with when the caution comes out, should there be one.
And there we see Cone. Santos is now going on that long, well, he did a short run. Now he's 17 laps into this next stint of his. He's now on the same strategy, or the same fuel strategy as Peterson, who's back in 7th, who is back on the lead lap.
Trying to see where the lap cars are in relation to Santos, because you got to be kind of closing in on Morales a little bit, who is in P13 right now.
Yeah, Morales is about a half a straightaway down from where Santos is.
And I think that these lap cars are going to start to play into the strategy of these guys up ahead, because if they see the lap car and they have to kind of see where the car is going, maybe they do a shorter pit stop. Tough to tell, really. So Santos is kind of running his own strategy right now. He did his short stint already that allowed him to be in the lead. But I think he's going to pit around like the 140 time frame in order to make it to the end. 140, 141 or so.
We're just
Santos
watching,
has to,
just watching Santos here, yeah.
Yeah, he has to know that 140 is probably going to be his ticket to the end. But it's unsure if he's maybe running one longer stint right in the middle. So maybe he comes in at like, what was the last stop?
Last
110?
stop for Santos was 107.
Okay, so yeah, around like 138, then he's probably going to be hitting.
And that's about 10 from now. We're at 127. So here's a little trivia here from Pocono for you. To no surprise of anybody, AJ Foyt has the most wins here in IndyCar history. Rick Mears is tied for second with 3. Can you tell me who's tied with him for second? Current driver.
I would have to say maybe Dixon.
No. But when you start thinking of wins in the IndyCar series, really it comes down to one or two guesses. It's either Dixon, who currently leads most active drivers, or Will Power, who is second in active drivers with win. Will Power is second all-time here with 3 wins at Pocono. Hard to believe that we have one of our current drivers as one of the career wins leaders here at this track that's been on the schedule for so long, and then also off the schedule for so long. But Will Power has 3 of his 500-mile wins here. He has 5 career 500-mile wins. He's among the career leaders in also 500-mile wins. 3 here, 1 at Indy, 1 in Fontana.
So I attended this race myself in 2014 through 2018. And yes, I'm looking at my list right now. And he won in 2016 and 2017. So He has 2 wins under what I saw.
I always wanted to come here for an IndyCar race, never got around to it, and I kind of regret not coming that second time they came back here. I'm hoping that there is a third time they come back here, but everyone keeps saying, well, it's too dangerous for the IndyCars, and keep showing the big wreck with Wickens, and then the other wreck that I think Takuma Sato started, and it was all in turn 2. I think that's all avoidable, and of course, everyone starts then mentioning the Justin Wilson incident, and I believe the Justin Wilson.
That one.
Yeah, I don't believe the Justin Wilson incident had anything to do with the track proper. I think that was just something happened. And I don't really think that the incident with Wickens and the Sato incident had anything really to do with the track either. I just thought it was just over-aggressive driving because it was really tough to pass in those cars at that time. And really the only way to pass was on restarts. And if you remember, both of those wrecks were right at the start of a run when everyone was close to one another. So I'd like to see IndyCar come back here. Whether or not they will or not, I don't know. But if they do, I will now commit myself to buying a set of 2 tickets for myself and my wife to go watch them here, because I always thought that this would be a fun track to go to.
It was definitely a very fun track to go to. You got to see a lot of side-by-side, a lot of 3-wide, 4-wide racing down the front straightaway. And that's right in front of you, obviously, as you're sitting in the standings. And, yeah, definitely a very good spectacle for what you want to see as a fan. So we had a lot of good racing here, especially when it came to a situation where a thunderstorm was coming or weather was coming, and you had to figure out exactly when to leave the track to make sure that you got out before the weather came. We got 2014, I was there with Montoya winning.
Yeah.
Pablo Montoya. And 2015, Ryan Hunter-Reay was the winner. And then, yeah, obviously I mentioned 2016 and 17, Power won. And Alexander Rossi was the winner in 2018.
I believe I do have a camera shot of what it would look like if you were watching from the seats here. I think, yeah, if you're sitting in the seats, this is roughly what you're going to see. It might be zoomed back out a little bit, but you can see the entire way around the racetrack from the main grandstands, right?
Yes, especially if you're high enough, you could definitely see exactly what these guys are doing in Turn 1 and 2. Like, Turn 1 and 2 seems very far away, but you can see it for sure. You got to be in the higher seats, though, obviously. Make sure you're...
Stouffer riding the wall. Might have made some contact. Wagner getting around him, and they are running down Santos now. Santos has hemorrhaged a little bit of his lead. It is now 0.2 of a second back to Wagner, and Wagner is in the draft. Wagner is getting a run, and he is going to pass him here on the Long Pond Straight. Battle for the lead and change.
Yeah, that was a very, very close touch for Stouffer there. He got very high in turn 3, and it looked like he touched it a little bit, but I think the car is all right. Might have just grabbed a quick little glimpse of the wall there, but as we mentioned, as the race goes on, these guys start to wonder like what's going on in other parts of their life, and I think that's exactly what we saw there with Stouffer. And yeah, Santos is falling back a little bit, but he's going to be pitting here very shortly, I believe.
Yeah, Santos 28 laps into the current stint, so we expect him, if you call the strategy right, it's going to be 30, 30, 30 from here on out, so he's really 2 laps to go now until he gets to that 30 mark. Same thing for Peterson. Peterson on the same strategy.
Stouffer is coming on the inside of Edson Santos right now.
Yep.
Looks like he's going to sit behind him. Actually, it looks like Wagner's giving him a little bit of draft going down the back straightaway. Or, sorry, front straightaway.
Ooh.
Very close for Santos there.
And Danny Sullivan, Alistair Sr., and Bobby Unser, Uncle Bobby, each also have 2 wins here at Pocono.
Here comes Santos. He's slowing down and coming in right now.
As we expected.
Still think this is very early. I still think he's got to do 32-32 in order to make it.
All right.
And it's not like there's a huge advantage here because he was able to get somewhat of a lead there, but I think that the guys that run the 30 and the 30, or the 29-29, they know they're good on fuel, so Santos will have to sit behind these guys and kind of pounce later on in the race.
Santos done. 2 more stops for him to get to the end.
And we saw Peterson also came in that lap as well, so Peterson will fall his lap behind, but I believe Santos will be still on the lead lap.
Tail end, yep.
Just barely.
And he gets passed by Pahutsky. Pahutsky is doing in about another 10 laps or so.
I think 140 is the lap that people are going to be looking at to complete their 30 and 30 to go. But I think that these guys that pit slightly earlier, such as Stouffer, Forsyth, and Wagner, they're going to be looking more like probably 142, 143.
Battle for the lead again. Stouffer and Wagner going to the 1. Oh, Wagner's keeping it tight on the outside there. Let's ride with Wagner. He's chilling right now. He could get the run if he wanted to.
See the dirty air effect there going into turn 3. He kind of entered a little bit on his right rear, but then kind of fell back a little bit. So yeah, I think Wagner is saving just a couple teaspoons of fuel here. Maybe if he makes it to 142.
Had to roll out of it big time on the exit of 1.
Yep, I think we'll see these guys around 142, 143.
All right, well, we'll ride with him for a couple laps, see if he makes that turn down pit road through 2. Coming to lap 141, we're on lap 140. Thanks everyone for joining us. This is P1's coverage of the Watchman 500 from Legacy Pocono for the Dark Horse Racing Series in their Summer Ride 2,000 mile summer series here. We're round 3 of 4. Completed races already at Michigan and Fontana. Got the big 2-mile ovals out of the way now. The big 2.5 milers are up next. Pocono and Indianapolis to round out this little summer season here before Dark Horse kicks off their next season.
And where do we stand with our drivers that are doing the full 1,000 miles?
Right now, the drivers, we'll bring up that graphic real quick. And here are the points, but the key thing that keep saying here is the 1,000 mile people. Forsyth still on forecasting to get there. Murphy still forecasting to get there. But Peterson right now the one in danger for dropping off that list. He is down a lap at the moment, but he should get a lap back when everyone else pits.
Say this lap or the next one, we're going to see the leader start to pit. Oh, Forsyth's coming in.
Next, the last stop for Forsyth. They'll have one more stop after this. Coming to his stall, hitting his marks right on. There's Murph.
Looks like we actually lost Charles Teed this race as well. Looks like he pulled off after his pit stop and he has decided to leave.
Well, DC, okay. All right, well, Stouffer now leader by 1 point, now 1 second exactly over Wagner.
We see that Forsyth has exited the pits right behind Edson Santos, but Santos is right behind Pahutsky. So it's going to be game time now for these guys to make sure they get by these cars that are at the back of the lead lap. Forsythe makes the move on Santos, so Forsythe has the net lead right now.
New tires. That's what new tires do for you.
And this is the worst nightmare for guys that pit earlier because they're saying, okay, I want to make sure I want to have clean track, but now Forsythe has to force himself to race with Pohotsky, but Forsythe has the run down Long Pond straightaway, makes the move to the inside of turn 2. I think Forsythe's going to have it, and unfortunately, I think he lost a little bit of time trying to battle with both him and Joseph Morales. Gary Lovern.
And basically, he's just kind of handing off the draft to the next car. Now he's got the draft of Lovern, so hopefully that will pull him around. He'll get the slingshot on Lovern going into 1.
Yeah, the lap time was okay. It was 41.9 for Craig Forsythe. High 41 seems okay. Matt Wagner is just off at pit lane right now. Forsythe is making the move down the back straightaway. I think Forsythe's going to have this run on Wagner. And like we mentioned on the last pit stop, these guys are going to come to the back of the field, and once these guys pit, they're going to have to deal with a bunch of cars that were racing at the back of the field together. Like Gary Lovern is kind of stuck there on the bottom. He makes...
Here's Wagner.
Yep, he gives the room to Wagner on the straightaway, but Lovern's in the drafts of Forsythe. So that's going to hurt Wagner a little bit in turn 1. Wagner gets by, and now he's back in the drafts again. And look up ahead. Stouffer seems to have come out right ahead of Forsythe.
And checking chats, I have not got a chance to look at chat yet. Here's a pass on Stouffer between teammates. Clindy checking in. Helped me call the race on Friday and Saturday on the VOR network. Mike Rigney checking in there. Gary Lovern hitting pit road. Mike Rigney checking in. Oof. Whoa. So close as we swap positions.
Yeah, Stouffer, Wagner, and Forsythe, they're starting to get a little racy now. They realize that they have one more stop left to go. As the third car in line, Forsythe will probably just sit there and wait for his opportunity, but it's going to be a wall of dirty air going into turn 3 as we come up to it.
Oof. Devin Ramsey checking in, said 110 would start the 30-lap fuel window to make it 2 more stops after that. Yeah, I think you're right there. He probably mentioned that a little while ago. Albert Anderson, can't wait to see what iRacing would look like in 10 years. That's a good... I know they're working on a new graphics engine. And they're gone through and rescanned a couple different tracks as well, including Spa.
I don't want to know what I would look like in 10 years, Gary. I'll be an old man in 10 years.
I will be officially nearing that retirement age in 10 years.
We're not talking about you, though.
Oh, Stouffer decides to go back to the top here. Mark Cohn still out turning laps, 26 laps on his stint, went 30 last time. I think he's probably going to go right to 30 again. The thing is, if he goes to 30 again, he still has one more stop, but it's going to be later than everybody else, so maybe a shorter fill.
So these guys have Joseph Morales up ahead, about a second and a half, 2 seconds up ahead, so they're going to have to deal with traffic again. And this is legit traffic, not someone who's waiting for a pit stop. So the guys that are staying out longer, I think this is a good strategy for them, unless they all seem to make their way by Morales, who wants to hang on to the lead lap, obviously, to make sure that he's set up for a nice getting track position back during a possible caution that might happen. But he's quickly getting tracked down by Forsythe, Wagner, and Stouffer. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of lap times these guys run as they're trying to chase down lap traffic up ahead.
Stouffer does have the purple lap of 41.5. We'll give you the translation of that. Here is Jomo going to the inside.
Yeah, looks like he's going to pull over, hopefully for all 3 of them. Yes, looks like Forsythe didn't lose too much time there going through turn 2, so the 3 continue to battle on up ahead. I think Wagner is having a hard time trying to pick which line to run here compared to what Stouffer's doing.
Stouffer purple laps 2:17.1. Wagner also a 2:17 flat. Those are the only drivers that have. Teed hit 2:17 flat as well. Those are the only drivers to get to the 2:17 mark.
Imagine Cohn's got to be pitting shortly here. Yep, it looks like he's coming in right now. He still hasn't done his short stint yet. So I think Cohn is still in the conversation here for the race win. It just depends on when exactly he wants to break up his last stop. There's 48 laps to go, so he could do a 24 and 24 from here and still benefit from a lead of the race. And it looks like he's doing a full... Yep, he did a full fuel run there, so I think his last stops might just be a fuel only situation, which
splash
would be
and go at the end. Yeah, I'll be inside of if we're 152, I'll be 182, so it'll be a splash with about 18 to go or so. Actually, that's not really a splash. That's a significant fill. You might as well just put on new tires at that point as well.
Yeah, I think it's too late now to make your last stop your short one. I would have done the short stint somewhere in the second half of the race, but we'll see what happens. You never know what could happen here.
Murph getting around Cohn on the out lap, so Cohn now back to 6th, Murph up to 5th. But the battle now is a three-way battle at the front, although Stouffer has himself about a second lead, about 0.8 really, over Wagner. And this battle between Wagner and Forsyth is the absolute closest battle on the racetrack right now.
I think Forsyth is just going to stay right there. He knows that Wagner's kind of picked wrong a few times, and I think Forsyth knows exactly where his spot in the race is. He probably knows exactly what lap he's going to pit on to finish the race here. Probably somewhere around 172, 173 or so. And he just has to have the best stop he can. The last stop is going to be the most important one. That's the one you want to make sure that you have the least amount of time on pit lane and the least amount of time slowing for pit entry and exiting pit out.
And the season already. Go ahead.
I was going to say that they're coming up on more lap traffic. They have Casey Bohutsky up ahead and Jeff Haisong up ahead as well. So within about, 6-7 laps or so, they're going to start getting in their dirty air.
About a quarter straight.
As long as things keep going how they are, they're going to catch them.
So we have started off the season with Stouffer getting the win at Fontana. And then Forsyth, his teammate, getting the win at Michigan. Right now, they're still battling up at the front. Stouffer as the leader, Forsyth in third. To give you an idea how rare it is to win as an IndyCar driver 2 500-mile races in a season. The last time that it has been done, 2 500-mile races in a season, same calendar year, and even harder because it was two different cars, was Juan Pablo Montoya, 2000 Indy 500 win, and then the US 500 in kart in two entirely different cars. The last person to win 2 500-mile or 500-mile races in a year, officially recognized by IndyCar. There have only been a handful of drivers to win 2 jewels of the Triple Crown. You would think someone like A.J. Foyt has won the Triple Crown. He is not. He has won 2 jewels before. Rick Mears has won 2 jewels before. The closest, really, to come to winning the Triple Crown outside of the only Triple Crown winner in IndyCar history, we'll get to that in a second here, is Gordon Johncock in '82. He came within a hair's breadth of getting wins at here to get the Triple Crown, and had to fall out early, and this is where Rick Mears kind of broke that up. Rick Mears almost broke it up in Indianapolis that year, too. But the only driver in the 100-plus year history of IndyCar racing who has gotten the Triple Crown is Al Unser Sr. Did that in '78, won at Ontario, Indianapolis, and Pocono. Despite 3 wins on the calendar that year, didn't win the national championship. That went to someone who didn't win a single race that season. That was Tom Sneva. But it is very, very difficult to win 2 500-mile races in a season. And right now, we're about 40 laps away, and Stouffer is in a position to possibly do that here in this little mini season for the Dark Horse Series.
Looks like Stouffer has managed to plot another nice gap to Wagner, and Wagner made a couple of bad line decisions earlier on in the stint in order for that to happen. And you can see that Forsythe was right on him a few times, but I don't know if Wagner's kind of roasted his tires a little bit and he can't get back up to him again, but I think it's time for Forsythe and or Santos to start to really consider, hey, like, are you going to bring me up to the leader, or Stouffer just going to disappear into the night? As we know, Forsythe and Stouffer are teammates, and they're probably in the same voice chat and working together in such a way that I think that Forsythe is probably saying, okay, just go ahead and run away. I'll deal with Wagner myself, and we'll get ourselves a nice 1-2 when the pit stops come. It's going to be very interesting to see what the last pit stop's going to do, because I want to know when Mark Cohn's going to pit for his fuel only, and I also want to know when Forsythe's going to do his last pit stop for making sure that he gets ahead of Wagner there. But I think Wagner understands that he's losing the lead, so he may actually want to try and to jump in early to try and jump Stouffer. We got 40 laps to go at this point.
100
officially.
miles, yep. We're at the 400-mile mark.
And Santos looks racy. Santos is trying to really read where Forsythe's going. I think Santos really wants to pounce here. I think he's the fastest car in the top 4 right now, and he wants to make sure that he puts himself in a nice spot. He also is on a different strategy for fuel than the rest of the guys up ahead. So
yes,
I think Santos is ready.
He is the fastest in the top 4. 41.9 for him. Everyone else is in a 42 flat or 41 or 42 flat or higher.
Santos has run a pretty quiet race thus far. All he's done is just kind of lurk behind the top group, and I think now it's time for him to make his move. And he's definitely kind of watched what the cars ahead are doing, so I think he's going to kind of outsmart them a little bit if he wants to make a headway. But at the same time, I think Forsythe is seeing that Santos is faster. So now it's kind of lighting a fire under him to go a little faster, and you can see that the top 4 are starting to close up a little bit to each other.
I asked Santos what makes him so good in these cars, and he's not bad at an IR18, but he's much better in the DW12. And quite frankly, he said that, for people down in Brazil on iRacing, iRacing's pretty expensive for everyone down there, that the DW12 is a free car, and that he's learned really how to get the most out of this free car on the service, and that's why he's so good in it. And he said there's other Brazilians just like him that drive this car very, very well. And the reason why, it's just once you subscribe to iRacing, you get this car for free.
Edson's back to a 42 flat again, but he's making the move on Forsythe right now. Here he comes for P3.
And he's clear. Might add
very close to the wall.
He might add a check up just a little bit to prevent himself from hitting the wall, and that's going to tie up just enough momentum to allow Craig back on by.
But you could tell that it was about 2.5 seconds back for the top 4. Now it's 2.1. So he's definitely pushing these guys to be a little bit faster. And I think that was a great line that Santos took there, and I think he's going to make the move on fore side again going into turn 1. It all comes down to this last stop, Gary. It's going to be whoever hits at the right time and has the best pin in, pin out time. And I think that they're working on a swap draft now, and it's going to really close this top 4 down quite a bit.
Now you can actually hear Santos grabbing a couple gears there in turn 3.
I think Forsyth kind of checked up a little bit at the exit of 2 there, and I think it kind of took Santos by surprise. You can see Forsyth only did a 42.2 there. I think his line into turn 2 was a touch off there. Actually, I thought he was going to whack the wall on the outside, but I don't know if that was defensive or if it was a mistake on Craig's part. Because now you can see that the top 4 have reinstated themselves. You see Santos is 2.6 back. So they were closing, and they lost quite a bit on that lap.
All right.
We're getting closer and closer to that 170 lap. So I'm curious to see who's going to be the one to jump in. Even 169. Let's get her going.
There's Joseph Morales. Whoa! He sped coming to pit road for sure. But he is the first to hit pit road for what might be a final stop. But I think he's going to be there for a while on a hold.
Yeah, that was a little reckless coming in, but like we mentioned, these guys have been going non-stop for 2 hours now. And some even longer than that. And it's very hard to stay concentrated once you've been going this long and you've been concentrating this long. It's very easy to do that. So I don't blame him one bit.
Santos, pit road, final stop. I don't know, man. This is going to be...
I mean,
yeah.
Santos has been early the whole time. He needs the fuel save. And he's done an okay job thus far, but if he wants to make it to the end without a splash, he's got to sit behind someone, and that's the worst spot you could be in when you know you have to sit behind and you can't really race anyone for the last 4 or 5 laps or so. And yeah, we'll see what happens with Santos. He's going to be in a different racing scenario compared to the leaders, but if a caution comes out in anywhere in the next 32 laps, he will be fine. I think we're going to see Stouffer, Wagner. Sorry, I think Forsyth is going to come in last. So yeah, so Stouffer and Wagner probably around 172, and then Forsyth possibly 173 or 4. But I think Murphy and
Cone.
Into the noise again. Yeah, Cone. Thank you. Cone's staying out the longest. I think it's gonna be Murphy that stays out slightly longer, and then Cone's gonna stay out product hole around like 181 or so. But yeah, I think we're gonna see these guys, the leaders, start to come in about 2 or 3 laps from now. But I'm curious to see if there's any fuel save going on, especially from Matt Wagner's point of view, because he fell back a little bit from Stouffer, despite taking the wrong line here and there.
Hugo Gallas checking in chat. Great fight between Forsyth and Santos, yeah. A couple of guys with a lot of starts in these cars.
What's up, Hugo? It's been a while.
Now, they might have a lot of starts in these cars, but they don't have a... Hold on, there we go. Make sure I'm looking at the right stats here.
Hits are open. We're at 170 right now, so it's quite possible that someone could dive in right now, but I think these guys stuck to their 27 laps to go to the end. I think that was a smart thing to do, just kind of break it up that way, because they knew that there wouldn't be any caution.
Craig.
So
Here comes Craig.
All right, so Craig is calling it at 29 to go, or 30 to go rather.
Craig has 67 starts here in the Dark Horse Series, 11 wins. He's among the all-time leaders in wins here. 33 top fives, 49 top tens. Edson Santos, not as many starts here, though, but he's been a participant within the last season and then this little special summer series. 9 starts, 1 win, 2 top fives, 3 top tens.
And Edson was side by side with Craig racing through this whole thing. He just crossed start finish. Let's see how he comes out. If he beats Craig out, which I don't think he's going to. I think he's going to be right behind him, which means they'll work together right to the end here. Actually, it looks like Craig might have a slight advantage on Edson.
He does.
And if that's the case, no, I think Edson will catch him by the exit of turn 3 going down the front straightaway. But these guys will go to battle right to the end. So now the bet is made for P3, P4. Let's see how Stouffer and Wagner react to this.
LGN, check it in chat. LGN, welcome. Helped me call the Hypercar Series race earlier today from Watkins Glen. And Santos is right back on Forsyth. Cone coming up to speed.
Just came out. Yep. Looks like, let me go back. Let's see if he took tires or not.
8 seconds, so it's long enough to take tires.
He went up on the jacks, you're right. So he did take tires, but it wasn't enough.
Murph on pit road. A hold for speeding on pit road.
Stouffer is also on pit road right now. He's just leaving his box.
Wagner right behind him.
I think he is gonna easily beat out Forsyth and Santos. Yes, I think Wagner might be more in jeopardy of. Yes, I believe Wagner will be caught by Forsyth and Santos, but Stouffer has definitely done the best pit stop here. So, all things considered, I think Stouffer is sitting in the best possible spot to win this race, should there be green flag all the way to the end.
Andrew Luis Gonzalez Nunez says hi.
Hello.
Stouffer leader by 1.5 seconds. Final stop's done. We are now running to the checkered flag here in the Watchman 500 on P1, part of the Dark Horse Summer Series. 2,000-mile ride is what they're calling it. A trip, a Grand Slam tour around the Triple Crown tracks of IndyCar racing. Rounds 1, round 2 at Fontana and Michigan. Round 3 here at Legacy Pocono. Round 4 will be wrapped up here in 2 weeks. The Dark Horse 500 at Indianapolis, presented by The Joy of Driving. We want to thank The Joy of Driving for sponsoring the entire season of the 2,000-mile ride series. If you're looking for entertaining sim racing content, look no further than The Joy of Driving. Follow Mark Cohn's racing escapades as he battle for wins and avoids wrecks with cat-like reflexes, all the while providing commentary sure to make you laugh, cry, or do both. Follow along by subscribing to The Joy of Driving on YouTube or like his Facebook page at The Joy of Driving. Mark Cohn currently right now 5th in the order, and the winner of today's race will get one of his watches. Now, I believe there is a provision that if you've already won a watch, which Stouffer has, I believe it is raffled off, maybe, as one of the other participants who has not won. So, no, there's no 2-watch victories here for Stouffer. We can't call Stouffer, 2-band Stouffer or something like that. We can't do that.
This battle for second is really heating up, Gary. Wagner knows that he had a worse pit stop than he probably would have wanted, and Forsyth and Santos are right there. You saw Wagner kind of not drift up high on turn 3 on the last lap, but he definitely knows the situation. Okay, the race is over, but I want a second place. And Forsyth will not let him just walk away with a second place. So this is a great opportunity to kind of read what these 2 cars are doing ahead of him. And Santos has been the fastest car in this top 4 multiple laps of the last 50 or so.
Yeah.
So I think that Wagner might defend a little too much and open a door for Santos. Or Forsyth may just kind of catch him sleeping. Here he comes right down the front straightaway. Forsyth takes P2.
Clean pass.
And Stouffer has lapped Gary Laverne up ahead. So these P2 and 3 cars are going to come up to. Actually, Pahutski has slotted himself in there as well. So this could disrupt this run as well. But Gary Lovern is up ahead as well, and Stouffer has just completely dominated this whole entire race.
Yeah, I'll give you an idea. We'll go back up here to Stouffer, and we'll flash this on the screen for you. 98 of 179 laps have been led by Stouffer today. Now 99. So next time,
contact. Looked like Pohutski was trying to race Wagner down the front straightaway, and Wagner blocked him, and there was a little bit of contact there, but they get away with it. And Forsyth now comes around Pohutski. That's going to kind of block Santos's run a little bit. I don't know if Santos is going to get by. Yeah, Santos gets held up by Pohutski there as the the two cars ahead pull away. But that was very, very dicey there with Wagner and Pohutski.
Yeah, he got the draft, and I'm going to pull out now. No, I'm not going to pull. I'm going to pull. And almost got his rear wing chopped off by Wagner there, but all's good.
So Santos really has some work to do now because he's completely lost the draft. He goes very low in turn 1 to take the optimal line down there. I think he's just outside the draft range of Pohutski, who seems to be holding close to Wagner and Forsyth right now. But again, the more that Wagner and Forsyth run side by side, the more gap that Stouffer pulls on these guys.
Yeah,
so
2.3.
Stouffer is going to be 2+ seconds ahead for the rest of this race, and Stouffer's just got to bring this home at this point. Forsyth goes a little bit high in turn 3. Wagner
contact.
Almost touches the wall.
I think he did make contact.
It looked very close from my point of view. Pohutski is going 3 wide in turn 1. I don't know how this will turn out.
Sure about that. Wagner makes contact, and he's going to lose a position, and that wasn't just contact. That was a good lick.
Santos read that perfectly. If I was that car in that line and I saw 3 wide, I would just make sure I had the best exit possible. But Pohutski seems to have planted himself right in the middle of this battle, and Forsyth's going to relap Pohutski again going into turn 3. But could Pohutski possibly leapfrog Forsyth to bring him up to Stouffer? I don't know if there's enough laps to do that because now Stouffer seems to have pulled out to almost a 3-second gap.
Yeah, 3-second gap right now. 182 laps. I imagine Wagner's probably not too happy.
Actually, Wagner got a good run out of turn 1 right there.
Murph about smacked the wall and exited turn 1. He's racing right now to try to catch this group.
I think Wagner's car is fine because he was able to pull right back up to this crew again. He's right behind Santos.
All right.
So Pohutski is falling back a little bit. Santos gets a little bit dirty air there. Wagner's going to come right down the front straightaway and take 3rd place back. So I think Pohutski is basically done with Craig, and now Wagner's going to do everything he can. Now here comes Santos. Same situation. Actually, Santos got a little high there, so not sure if that's going to be the case, but Forsyth may have pulled away just enough for Wagner not to come back on him.
Yeah, he's got about 1.1 second with a car between them.
We have Jim Herrick that's close to going a lap down now for Chris Stouffer. So there'll be more cars that possibly could be falling.
Well, I don't expect Herrick to really get in the way of.
Herrick's
Stouffer.
already kind of slowed. Stouffer is making the move there, but Gary Lovern is still fighting for a position here, and I think Gary's gonna have a run going into the tunnel turn.
There's a battle for 6th, and that's what happens when you do something nice for your teammate.
You're nice for a teammate, yes.
Exactly. You lose a spot on the racetrack. So move Lovern up to 6th, Herrick back to 7th.
Easy work done by Stouffer there. Honestly, getting through this traffic without any loss of time at all. He's now over 3 seconds from Forsyth in P2. But these lap cars will sort of start to fall back little by little. I did kind of overcall these lap cars. I thought they'd be more around the lap 140, 150 area, but they're starting to work their way through the pack now, and Pohutski is still staying with Forsyth, so honestly, this is great for someone like Pahutski. Despite the incident with Wagner there, he's going to school a little bit, saying, okay, where do I got to turn? What lines do I like? Especially with a car in front, it's good practice to race with someone that's a little faster than you and say, okay, I know that typically the faster cars go on this line, that line, and I mean, I'm sure we've all been in a situation where a faster car passes us. It's like, okay, what line are you running? What lines
Right.
do you take? That was the opportunity for Gary to say, yeah, type in that situation.
My driving days are fewer behind me than my broadcasting days, but yeah, I have been in many situations. Most of the time, I'm being the dumb one in this situation. That's why I moved to broadcasting. You look smarter.
Right. But how, I mean, like when you're being lapped in a situation like Pahutski is in, like how much influence are you someone to just pull over and let them all race, or do you say, no, I want this spot back, like Pahutski must be listening to me right now.
So my thing is I'm always, when I race, I always have the relative open. So I want to know who's around me at all times. So who am I coming up on? Who's coming up on me? And if that was me, unless I'm a teammate with one of those guys in that group, I'm getting out of the way in most cases, especially this late in the race. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to cause a wreck. I don't, I want to remember when I'm late in the race and I need one of these guys to get out of my way, that they'll go, oh, hey, Gary got out of my way once. I'm going to get out of his way and return the favor.
I'm the same exact way.
Yeah, so
exact way.
I know these memories run long for these drivers. So, is there going to be a time where Pahutski needs Wagner to get out of the way? Yeah, there might be. And is Wagner going to do it? After today, I'm not so sure about that. But if I'm in a group there with my teammate, and if there's something I can do help my teammate, I'll get out of the way, but do it a little bit slower. Maybe back my braking point up a little bit and cause the guy behind me to kind of have to break his up and allow a little bit more of a gap for my teammate to form. Something maybe to help my teammate. Everyone says that team orders are not cool and everything, but hey, it's part of racing. And when you race with a teammate, you everything. It's if it's not all for one, because you're not winning the race, it's definitely all one for all. Because you always got to help the team out. And IndyCar racing as a team is an entirely different animal than any other type of racing sport. Your teammate is your friend here in IndyCar racing, whereas in Formula One, your teammate is your enemy.
Exactly, and you can see as you're talking here, it's getting very spicy, especially now that Jim Herrick has fallen back a little bit. I think Pahutski should be giving up the ghost by now. Santos got stuck behind him in turn one, and I think Santos might get stuck behind him once again.
But Jim, Jim doesn't necessarily need to get out of the way. I mean, he's got a teammate there. Okay, now he gets out of the way.
Yeah, but Santos is still stuck behind Pahutski, and I think Santos took the wrong decision there, just going on the low line, and now he's stuck behind two lap cars, and I think Pahutski is gonna. Herrick gets close to the wall there, and now Santos has two cars ahead that probably are hindering his progress forward. But I mean, we said that Matt Wagner had a little bit of an incident before, but he's right behind Craig again, so the battle continues for P2. And we haven't talked about Stouffer in a while, but Stouffer is 4.2 seconds ahead now.
Jeez, he is way. It might as well be 4 miles in front of with 10 to go.
I think Santos is done at this point, trying to do the battle here. Wagner must have had a bad exit in turn 3 because Pahutski is still there. Santos very close to the wall there. What an exciting last 10 laps we're setting up here with this lap traffic, Gary.
You would have thought with 14 cars entered that we wouldn't have much issue with with the traffic, but yeah.
I don't think that Santos... I mean, Pahutski is just going to make Wagner's life difficult at this point, but that's going to hurt Santos's chances. So Wagner might have been a little bit upset with Pahutski before, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like he's going to move out of the way and let these leaders race. So it might have been a bit of a problem before, but it actually might help Matt now secure that podium spot. Gary Lovern's moving his way back towards Forsyth now, and I think Gary will probably not give much of a headache here. I believe Gary might have some damage because it looks like he's running a little slower. I'm not sure if he's actually touched the wall and has a slight bit of damage, but he didn't really keep up when Stouffer went by.
So when we had our, this was the big, I think we had a 300 miler here in Lionheart when we came here in the Speedway Series. I had a run coming to the green flag on the outside. I mean, it was a clear shot of 2 rows on the outside coming to green. It would have been a legal pass. And as I move past them and make up immediately 4 spots on the start of the race, I get checked into the wall because the car on the inside didn't expect me to be there and check me into the wall. I'm not even to turn 1 yet. I made 4 spots, but now I'm damaged for the remainder of the 299 miles that I'm racing. It was painful.
That's the worst. All right, so now we got 2 cars between Wagner and Santos, but Gary seemed to have moved over both Craig and Matt. So I don't know if Gary's gonna move for Casey or not, but this is definitely a battle for P6.
Well, this is a battle for position, so he wants a Pahutski. Pahutski's looking at a top 5 possible things. Work out. Whoa. But that's going to open the door for Santos. Santos wants that. Then I move Santos past Pahutski for track position. 7 to go. Does Santos have a shot now? And there goes Herrick to pit road.
And I mean, Wagner is only 6/10 behind Forsyth, so that battle is still on despite the tire situation. But Lovern, I think, is feeling pretty solid for his P6 right now. But here comes Pahutski again with Santos. He wants to get back up to Lovern again. He's going to get stuck on the outside again. I'm not sure Lovern has a fully good car.
4.5 seconds for your leader, Stouffer. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, he is the Pocono Whisperer.
He is definitely the Pocono Whisperer. I'm not sure if it's a legacy Pocono Whisperer. It could be the new Pocono Whisperer. Who knows? We'll have to ask him.
We'll ask him, yeah.
But, I think that I could definitely tell that the leaders, Stouffer as the leader was given a lot more respect from these lap cars than this P2nd, 3rd, and 4th situation, because Stouffer was able to kind of dispose of them pretty quickly, which is kind of the opposite of what you would normally see in a situation where you're trying to go for a win. Usually it's the leader that you don't want by you, not 2nd place or 3rd place. But we got 4 laps to go, Gary. This race has flown by. Green flag
the entire way, yeah. We started off.
Nope, I'm not jinxing myself. We still have 4 laps to go.
We started off today with 3 who've completed 1,000 miles already. We're probably, we still got some time to go, but right now we're forecasted to just have 1 reach the 1,500 mile mark at the end of this one. That's going to be Craig Forsyth. He's probably going to be our points leader at the end, or continue to be our points leader at the end of the day. But
Santos took a big dive, and he took a big dive of turn 3 there, right on the curb, and he's going for it. He wants to catch up to Wagner. He did a 42.2 that lap. Wagner did a 42.3. I think Santos is, now that he's clear, he's on the move. He goes nice and low in turn 1. He's using every inch of racetrack right now.
Let's ride along down the Long Pond stretch. Santos 7/10 back from Wagner. Oh no, he's coming to pit road. He doesn't have the fuel.
Santos doesn't have the fuel. Yes, wow, that storyline completely left me, saying that he did pit earlier than everybody else. And yep, you're right. I completely forgot about Santos pitting early there, and he has to come in for a splash, unfortunately.
That's 1 more player that's out of the game that might fall a lap down here. Forsyth is still behind his teammate Stouffer by 4.4 seconds, coming to the white flag 2.5 miles to go for Christopher and a second win of the season. He is clean. There's another car coming to pit road. I think that's Lovern. Clean through one, down to the bottom, hitting those bumps. Clean out of one, down the Long Pond straight. Right in front of him, that's Jim Herrick. Shouldn't be an issue. There you see all three of the 4D cars right on the same picture right there. Through two. One more turn to go, and Stouffer staring at his second win here. And second 500-mile win on top of that. Started the season off at Fontana with a win, and he's going to sandwich that in the middle with a win at Pocono. Legacy Pocono win for Christopher. Forsyth, another 1-2 for 4D, finishes second, and Matty Wags coming home third.
Incredible race. It was definitely one of those races where strategy definitely played in it. Sorry, I'll start again. I got all crossed up there. It was definitely a race where strategy played a factor. You have to figure out where exactly you want to back your race up from 200, and I think that it was the proper time for all the podium guys to do it. Right around the lap 110, 120, around that time is when you want to start thinking about the end of the race, especially when you notice that the race is going to go green the whole way. So I think that it's actually, it was pretty incredible to watch these guys kind of strategize different ways. I thought Mark Cohn might have had a much better fuel-only stop if he decided to do it, but he wound up way back there.
Wagner giving a little bit of a love tap to...
Yeah, I heard that. I heard Stouffer say he's out of fuel. So Wagner's trying to play around with him a little bit on voice chat there.
And just queuing up some replays here real quick. All right, let's take a look at
what a great like spectacle to see here at the end of the race. After 500 miles of these guys just sitting around like hoping that they can go bring their garbage out to the curb. Now they're having some fun. So let's have some fun interviews here. I think we deserve it.
All right, get the results in for today here from Pocono. Christopher the win. Pretty dominant win, really. And we'll talk about lap led here just a little bit when we get to his interview. Forsyth second, Wagner third, Cohn fourth, Santos fifth, Pahutsky sixth, Mark Murphy seventh, Peterson eighth. So that means Murph and Peterson fell one lap short, so they are not not able to complete the full 2,000 miles. But we shall see who still might be the leader at the end of this season. Forsyth might have an issue in the final race and goes 2 laps down, while the rest of these guys go a lap ahead of them, and they'll be 1 lap better to the positive than Forsyth. So we see it's a lot of racing still to go. 500 miles in Indianapolis. Then we got Herrick in 9th, Lovern in 10th. Jomo in 11th, Haisong 12th, Teed 13th, and Rafi Eckert, unfortunately, a early exit in 14th. All right, let's get into the interview room and bring up some very tired racers for tonight, I'm sure. And let's see, where do we have Matt Wagner? There's Matt Wagner. We'll bring down Matt Wagner here. Hey, Matt, got you in the booth with Gary and Andrew. First thing, I think the one thing that comes to my mind about your race, and it just seemed to happen, it was the most recent thing, is kind of the battling with the lap traffic. Your thoughts on that, but really your thoughts on the race overall, going green, so everyone had to try and throw something different at the old pit strategy, and what did you try, and did it work or not?
Do you want my comments G-rated or do you want it R-rated?
Well, let's try to be a good sport about it.
I think we know the R-rated ones already. So go G-rated for now, please.
Okay. All right. Let's go G-rated. Okay. So, excuse me. So, everybody has a right to race for a position. Everybody has a right. There comes to a certain point where you have to concede. But if you are, you can get to another car, then I can understand that. But as for racing for the win or any, because we were almost right on the back of Stouffer. Yeah, about 7/10, maybe 8/10 of a second there. And then as soon as that happened, and we got the little bad in there, we totally lost the draft. And that's a bitter pill to swallow after me and Stouffer have been, trading back and forth. And I was saving fuel for most of the time, trying to shorten my stops, see if I can get to the little edge. A couple of times, I think I had like really poor entries coming into pit road. Craig was beating me by far. He's like the best, like coming on the pit road I've seen in quite a while. So other than that, I got to settle for third. That's okay. We can take it.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah. So, what was your thought as you guys were doing that first couple stints and you realized that everyone was kind of sitting single file? Did you have any thought that you would want to try and do an earlier pit stop to try and do an undercut of sorts, or were you worried that a caution might come out, or what was your thought process when you were sitting there just kind of in line with the same people over and over again? What was your idea to get ahead of them in a later pit stop?
So I wasn't really about a caution coming out. I kind of feel like it was like, the ISRA truck series, like no cautions, like barely.
Mm-hmm.
And so you know about that, Gary.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, so I tried a lap earlier. I gained a little, but not very much. But I really overall, I didn't think it made a whole bit of a difference. But I know, who was it there? Was it Santos Edson? It worked for him, but unfortunately, he didn't make the fuel as the tires were on. I think mostly had to be a tire deal. So there was a couple times during that stint, it felt like, it was like we hit a wall. Like everybody, like on the track, like dropped like a second per lap.
Mm-hmm.
It was just nuts. That's why I dropped the lead, and I let Chris go by. I said, "You go ahead." It was like, I don't know if iRacing did something goofy, or is just something to do with the track, or it was just weird.
Yeah, I know that there's been some people that have been saying that the tracks haven't been feeling right, especially in the IndyCar side of things since this last update. So maybe it's possibly something as a result of that. But 69 starts now in the series, nice, and 7 wins, 37 now top fives, and 48 top tens. So keep adding to those totals. I don't know if we have any points for this season yet tallied up. Let me check real quick. We'll see if we are. Yes, points are there, so we'll check the results. And you are
2 road wins.
you are in 8th spot now. You got 73 total points, 1 behind Lovern, 5 behind High Song. Still a good shot at a good finish here in Indy, moving on up.
Yeah.
I mean, you gained 3 today with your first top 5 and top 10 of the season here in the series. So going to Indianapolis, a place we know you run good. So I suspect that you'll do pretty well finishing in the standings here. It's a little mini season though, but it gets you ready for the main season. But getting on the podium is always a big deal. So go ahead and shout out your friends, family, sponsors, because you definitely earned it.
Well, I'm just glad the bad luck went away. No disconnections. No, nothing. Thank God.
No mechanicals. No DCs.
No mechanical failures.
Yeah.
Exactly. The first 2 races were terrible. I like to thank God for bringing me some great luck here today. Oh, Jesus. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank TWRS Setup Shop for all they do. You guys in the broadcast, my mom and dad for watching, and yeah, it feels nice for being on the podium for once. So y'all take care and have a good night.
Good talking to you. Matty Wagner finishes with 33 laps led in P3 here. All
right, buddy.
And I'll just drop you up in one of these other channels up here. But well, he is 33 laps led in P3 tonight here at Legacy Pocono.
It's dry, bud. Hopefully I'll talk to you tomorrow.
You got it, man. Let's see. I'll just drop him in the nearest channel there and let him move himself to back to where he would like. Let's bring up Craig Forsyth now. As the 4D guys, I'm sure, are very happy. So we'll bring Craig down. Craig got in the booth here with Gary and Andrew. Congratulations. Another good day for the 4D crew. Another good day for you. Not a dominant day like your teammate. You managed to lead 3 laps, but you more importantly got the P2. More importantly, also, on top of that, you're the only driver to complete 1,500 miles at this point with 1 race to go. And on top of all of that, you're the points leader by a pretty significant margin right now going to Indianapolis, which is a place we know you run pretty well. But let's talk about today. No cautions. We kind of expected that. But what did you try to do differently in all of these different pit stops? Because we noticed that at one point you kind of were struggling and then like P5, P4, and then I think it was like the second stint you hit pit road. You must have had a really good stop, and the next thing we know, you're right up there in the top 2, top 3, battling out, and you kind of remain there for the rest of the day. So let's talk about your fuel strategies. What did you decide on?
Well, we were just going full the whole time until we got about halfway through the race, and at which point watching the leaders that were left, figuring out that, okay, when was I going to do the short stop? And I can't remember. I think it was the 3rd or 4th pit cycle. The temperature jumped like 5 or 6 degrees Celsius, so like 10 or 11. It went crazy high, and immediately I was sliding, Matt was sliding, everyone was having trouble, and that's when I think Edson went in at that point in time, and I think I watched him for like 2 or 3 laps, and he was half a second or more faster than us. And I was like, I looked up and made sure that the numbers were still going to work. I felt he'd gone in just a bit too early, so I think I waited like an extra. I think it was like 4 laps later than him when I finally went in. Just had to suck it up and went in. But that's, as soon as that happened, I went in because I knew that would mean it was my short fill, because I still had 20 liters left in the tank. But whoa, did we fly at that point? We were going so fast. And then of course when everyone else cycled around, I think we'd passed 3 people. So that was the move that got us back up, because my God, every time I was in clean air, I was the slowest person on the track. It was god awful. And then it was like Matt would get behind me, or Mark would get behind me, or for that matter, Chris earlier on would get behind me. They'd just be like, okay, I'm going by you. I had no answer for them. None. I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna hold on to you then. And 5 laps later, I've lost their draft. I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? Yeah, it was a long race, but I'm good on everyone for having we were green flagged the whole way. That was an impressive race.
Yeah, so let's dig a little bit deeper into that incident. I think that Gary was kind of alluding to that one where I believe it was Gary Lovern or someone was coming up into your way on the pit out there that you had to kind of jump out of the way for.
Oh God, no, that was me and Mark. That was Cone.
Okay, it was Cone. Yeah, I forgot who it was, but yeah, obviously you had to kind of lift a little bit to get out of that, and that allowed a bunch of the pack to get ahead of you. So you fell about 3 or 4 seconds back there. Did you figure that, oh no, I have to really do something drastic to get back up to this pack again, and therefore you have to change your strategy? Because I heard you mention a couple times in your comments there that you said that, okay, I have to do a short stint somewhere in here to make sure I do it. So maybe I'll do it on the next stop to make sure that I stay in the draft of the leaders. Is that your thought process for getting back up there again, or was there something else that allowed you to kind of do some faster pit stops to get back up there again?
Yeah, no, when Mark came out, it was like, yeah, we're coming out of one, and I guessed I thought he was going to go up to the outside wall, and he didn't. So then at that point, we touched. We had a 0x to a 4x.
Yeah, I saw. Yep,
touch,
it was very scary and very close. Yeah.
How I did not get front wing damage, I have no idea. Because it felt substantial, and and which of course you at that point you've decelerated, so had to. I mean, basically, I was just trying to hang on to Mark until Mark, because he was still super fast. So then I was just trying to hang on to him to get to the pit cycle, because as I said, I was hitting the button and it was telling me I didn't have any damage, but I didn't believe it. So I really wanted to get to that pit cycle and see if my front wing was going to get changed or not. At that point, I was just going to assume there would be a caution. Thankfully, the wing didn't have to get changed, because I wasn't going to be willing to burn a fast repair at that point in time. So if I'd eaten that 5 seconds, that would have been the end of the race, that's for sure. So got really lucky that we ended up with no damage out of that somehow. And then it was a matter of placing the car. Like, there were guys that wanted to get by, and if I felt they were faster than me, it was like, okay, go by. I will draft off of you as long as I can, because I just do not seem to be the fastest guy when I'm ahead of people. So, and that proved the case. Every time I was on my own, I could hold, when Matt was 1.4 seconds ahead, I could occasionally bring it to 1.3, but over the course of 20 laps, it'd eventually be 1.5. Just not consistent enough to compared to the other guys here.
I noticed that. Yep, exactly. That was my follow-up question, but you answered it for me. So I was wondering if you felt more comfortable chasing, or if you felt like you should be the car ahead. But I think your dissertation there was good.
No, I was fully understood that I did not have the clean air pace of the other guys, so I needed to come up with a result some other way. And then we had lap traffic battling at the end there. I think they were trying to get up to Jim, I think, but they didn't know that Jim was short on fuel, just like Edson was. So I knew that those guys were all pitting. So I knew that Edson, even behind us, wasn't going to be challenging, because I knew he needed to pit. So it was just a matter of, like, I knew roughly where we were going to be. It was going to end up being myself and Matt battling it out. So luckily, in the end, we ended up having enough of a gap between us that didn't have to fight him at the end.
Well, statistically speaking, so far a perfect season. 3 starts, 700 laps, 1,500 miles, completed them all. 3 top 5s, 3 top 10s. We got a pole, we got a win. You're going to go into the final race of the season. We're tallying points for this 4 little race series. You're going to go into the final race as the points leader, and you're going to battle it out with your teammate, more than likely, as we go to Indianapolis. So I don't know. I can't think of your career stats. I don't know. Do you have any series titles to your name yet? I know you have a ton of wins, but do we have a series title yet that we can say we can hang around your neck so far?
Well, I've got a couple. I think I've got 2 Area 51s.
Well, that counts. That counts.
Earlier on, so those count.
All right. So
no, I'm going to be happy to. Yeah, I think my goal here is 2,000 miles, isn't it?
I think 2,000 miles is a big part of it. Yeah,
absolutely.
Heck with anything else. 2,000 miles.
When we're bored here, like, without anything to call, we're talking to each other about who's got the stats to make the 2,000 miles. So yes.
Yeah,
it's like, you finished 9th at Indy? I'm like, yes, but I finished on the lead lap.
Yes, that's something to definitely take home with you. I agree.
Well, congratulations. A lot of shout-outs, friends, family, sponsors, anyone to say hi to before we let you go. Good day for the team, so I know you got to give some shouts to 4D.
Oh, yeah, as always, I got to thank Jim over at 4D Racewear. We got a 1-2 today. Jim got cycled out early on and wasn't able, basically waiting for a caution to try and make that up. That never happened. So he was trying to gamble with anything that would try and make something different happen. But in the end, it stayed green the whole way. So there's not much you could do, right? No, I got to thank Mark Cohen. He's sponsoring the race, and it's I know he wanted to win this one, but it was I'm glad I didn't kill him. So there we go. That's my
yeah, that's good.
That's the big one for me. And then, I mean, all the guys at Dark Horse. I mean, I know this is the summer series where it's the quote unquote off season, but it's good to see numbers still coming out, even though we're in the the dog days of summer now. I guess technically we're back to school, but it still counts as summer. So
Yeah, we'll count it. We'll count it.
Exactly.
All right, congratulations. That will be 68 starts now, 11 wins, 34 top fives, 50 top tens for the points leader going into the final race of the season. But more importantly, 1,500 out of 1,500 miles completed with 500 to go. We'll catch you in 2 weeks, Craig. Until then, you take care.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks, Andrew. You guys stay safe.
Thanks.
And let's bring down Christopher. Christopher, congratulations on the win here at Pocono. I keep calling you the Pocono Whisperer. You made me look smart once again. I swear to God, you guys on the 4D team, you always make me look smart. I don't know what it is, but thank you very much for doing that. But you got the win here, part of the summer series, and it was a pretty dominant win for you. I don't think outside of the of maybe some battles that you had in the mid race, the last quarter of the race, it was just you by yourself.
Yeah, I like the last half of the race when I was able to finally put a gap on Matt there and Craig. Matt was certainly giving me a run for my money most of the race, and so yeah, it was nice to be able to get up there and stretch my legs finally at the end, and just kind of cruise to the victory.
Okay, well, you did get a little mouthy with Matt at some point. I think he got by you, and you were wondering why he was kind of blocking you a little bit. So, what was your thought in that part of the race? Maybe it was like around like lap 30, 40 or something.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, he started doing the weave. I was like, hey, come on, man. I'm not weaving on you. I'm not trying to, do anything like that. Let's just have a straight up, man-to-man race.
I think that was more. I think it was more to get in his head. It wasn't like you were mad. You were like, okay, now we're gonna start. We're gonna start this game. Now we're gonna start this. Like, let's get it in his head that like, yeah, I'm here, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, not. I don't know how to say it exactly, but yeah, when he started weaving, it's kind of like, hey, if you want to play that game, we can play that game. But at this point in the race, let's just get the laps in, and the last 10 laps, if we're gonna weave or do whatever to break the draft and maintain the lead, that's one thing. But doing it early in the race, yeah, it always leaves a bad taste in my mouth. So it certainly had something to do with me saying that. But I guess he got me back at the end of the after the checkered. I didn't even get to do any donuts or anything. So
we got that. We got that on the broadcast. Yeah.
We definitely had some fun after having like 50 laps of nothing to talk about. So we just started talking about random stuff. But sorry to put you on the spot there, but
no, it's it is what it is, and I mean,
I got a more fun question for you. I mean, Gary referred to you as the Pocono Whisperer at least like 18 times during the broadcast.
Am I wrong?
I'm exaggerating that, but I have to know: do you prefer the old Pocono or the new Pocono? Legacy Pocono, regular Pocono? We were going to ask you that question there.
Legacy Pocono. I like the old Pocono. I mean, old Pocono. There's more character to the track. The second lane is a heck of a lot more viable in every single turn. It's just a tad bit wider. It races better. I don't care what cars we're on or in. I just I prefer old Pocono. As bumpy as it is and as old as that gets, still, yeah, old Pocono all day.
Well, I mean, you kind of showed it. 121 out of 200 laps led. There was no one even remotely close to you in that number.
Well, that's another good number to have, I guess.
I got one more quick question. So, what was your pit stop strategy? At what point in the race? And I mean, you've raced a bunch of Indy 500s. You know the counting backwards from 200 situation. So, at what pit stop did you decide? Okay, this is not going yellow. I need to do a short stint here. Or did you break up from 200 backwards, like a 26 lap scenario situation.
Well,
Like, at what point in the race did you decide to count backwards from the race?
Well, you do it from the beginning. Like you go into every race expecting that it's going to be it's going to go green the whole time, and you know the first run typically it's run it out, and just see where you're at. And I was in a good place to run it out, empty at that point, and then second stint, just kind of the same thing, and then I noticed I was a few laps good on fuel for my very last stop, so I had a little bit of a window there, which really paid off because what I did another thing I noticed is that the track changed throughout the race. Later in the run, there was a lot more fall off, and people that were short pitting were able to catch up and even get up there and battle for the lead. So all that was getting taken into account, throughout the races. You kind of got to adapt to what's happening, and so I did that, and I short filled pretty much every stop. The last 3 stops I had extra fuel in the tank, and I know that helped me out just a bit because I stayed out just a little bit longer. And like I said, the undercut did was pretty huge here. It was probably about a half a tenth, so that adds up quick. And but end of the day, I was happy to be able to pull a few seconds on those guys and just set the sails and keep it off the wall and bring it home.
Shout outs, friends, family, sponsors. Anyone want to thank for this win today?
Shout out to 40 Racewear. Go to 40racewear.com. Get boots, gloves. I got all kinds of apparel there. It's pretty nice. Thank you to the wife. Let me do this. And, hi, kids. Hopefully you're in bed by now. But you guys up in the booth, thank you for broadcasting. I know these races with the smaller field and get real long and strung out when they get green flags. So I be interested to see where your talks ventured off to during the race. But,
they were pretty focused.
It's scary nerding out on who won how many races at what track. So just prepare for that.
Okay.
All right.
But it's fine.
Right on.
It's what it is. You got to fill time. So.
No, I got you. Yeah, that's what I was saying. So, and everybody putting on the league, it's a lot of fun. So, and thank Mark too. I know he's a big proponent in this. But yeah, one more race, Indianapolis. We'll see what happens there.
I'll see you in 2 weeks. And the points championship going to probably come down to 2 teammates here at Indianapolis. Congratulations on the win today. Second win of the season. And I believe that is, if I look at your career statistics here, your 3rd career win in the series. So congratulations on that. 2 out of your 3 wins have definitely been 500-milers, well-earned wins. Congratulations. We'll check in a couple weeks.
All right. Thank you.
And we'll drop him back in the 4D where he can continue the rest of his night. Andrew, final thoughts on tonight. Again, small field, but very entertaining race. Certainly the way it came down to the way you kind of scripted it out yourself. You're just like, at some point we're going to have to change strategies. At some point it's going to be sooner rather than later. And the strategy change is going to be, when am I going to go to the short stint? And you nailed it right down the line. Every single stint, you kept saying this needs to be the short stint, and you just nailed it. So you knew what was going to happen even well before this thing started to unfold, as we looked like it was going to be a caution-free race. Talk about today's race and what you thought of it as that strategy's unfold.
I'm going to be honest. I feel like I just kind of winged it. I'm glad it worked out how it did. Like, Pocono is always kind of one of those weird tracks where people try and do something a little bit different than, say, an Indy or a Michigan Fontana situation, because the track is just so differently laid out, and there's different ways to swap draft. There's different ways to get time, different ways to figure stuff out. So Pocono is kind of its own beast in that aspect. It follows a similar kind of trend that you would find at an Indy or a Michigan Fontana. But I also think that it has to do with who you're racing around. So if you feel like you're racing around a certain group of guys, you want to try and figure out what they're doing, you want to beat them. You don't want to beat the track necessarily. So I think that Stouffer's strategy there was good. He just waited until, like he said, he waited until about 3 or 4 stints to go and then kind of broke it up in smaller bits. And usually that could work, but it could also bite you if it hits at the wrong time. So I think he just read the race perfectly and figured out like which parts of the race people were doing a full burn and then kind of changing afterwards. So that's kind of that's how Pocono goes. It can go either way. It could be a good thing or a bad thing. So I'm glad it worked out exactly how I called it. And if you ask me at Indy next week, I'll be totally wrong there. So let's see what happens.
Well, that's why we have you here in the booth. So that's it for today. Once again, your podium for the WATCHMAN 500 presented by the Joy of Driving. From Legacy Pocono, Chris Stouffer with his second win of the season. Craig Forsyth finishes second. He is your points leader. Matt Wagner, his first podium of this little mini season. He comes home third. Join Andrew and myself again for the final Dark Horse 2,000-mile ride event of the Summer Series on Sunday, September 22nd, as the teams and drivers head to Indianapolis once again for the biggest crown jewel of them all, the Dark Horse 500, presented by the Joy of Driving. Coverage begins around 7 p.m. Eastern. Again, that's 7:00 p.m. Eastern. As always, you can find everything at YouTube right here at youtube.com/@P1 Broadcasting. Now, as you know, the YouTube algorithm game is not easy, so please help support P1 with the grind. And yes, we have been grinding. Leave a comment below. Let us know your thought of tonight's race and if you enjoyed tonight's coverage. Support us by smashing like in the video. If you're new, click subscribe, or while you're at it, hit the bell for weekly reminders so don't miss out on more of other P1's other iRacing programming. And we got a lot of it this week. Doubleheader tonight. That's all over with, so you don't have to worry about that. But doubleheader tomorrow, doubleheader on Wednesday. You won't want to miss it. A lot of IndyCar action. A lot of NASCAR action, trucks, Xfinity. Check it out all here, P1 this week. Ring the bell. You will be reminded when we go live. Season-long coverage of the Dark Horse 2,000-mile ride series brought to you by the Joy of Racing. If you're looking for entertaining sim racing content, of course, outside of me and Andrew, of course, look no further than the Joy of Driving. Follow Mark Cohn's racing escapades as he battles for wins and avoids wrecks with cat-like reflexes, all the while providing commentary to make sure you laugh, cry, or do both. Follow along by subscribing to The Joy of Driving on YouTube or like his Facebook page at The Joy of Driving. Track cams today provided by Whiplash Sim Cams. Get the most out of your iRacing experience with Whiplash. To learn more about Whiplash, follow them on X and Instagram and like them on Facebook. All the links are in the description. I want to thank them again for their season-long exclusive use of their cams all season long. Thank you very much. For Andrew Wood, everyone here at P1 and the Dark Horse Racing Series, I'm Gary Gotzo saying to all, thanks for watching, and to all of our men and women serving in the military and as first responders, Godspeed, God bless, and come home safe. Catch us again right here Sunday, September 22nd in the racing capital of the world, Indianapolis, for the next race of the Dark Horse 2,000-mile ride series. Good night.